Constellation is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. My friends, football is more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with the code Constellation. That's CONSTELLATION. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code Constellation. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, that's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort of Kansas, licensee partner is Golden Nugget Lake Charles in Louisiana. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football for terms of eligibility and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our podcast network, head to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast. My name is Colin Moriarty. I'm joined as always by my brother, Dagan Moriarty. Dagan, good to see you today, my friend. How are you?
I see you rocking that Sugar Ray shirt.
Oh, yeah.
I see you rocking it.
You like that? Yeah. Actually, Micah really did me a solid because I wanted the shirt at the concert. I went and saw Sugar Ray and the Gin Blossoms and Tonic. So bands from my child. I was saying that I went with Declan, our nephew, and a few other people, and I'm like, you have to understand, like, everything they're playing, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade.
Talk about nostalgia.
I'm like, this is the pocket for me. And Sugar Ray was awesome. I had actually never seen them before. I loved them. I loved their first few records when I was in middle school and high school. But so anyway, I went to the merch table before the show and I wanted the shirt and they didn't have it. They were out of the size. So Micah bought it for me online, which I really appreciate. Because I got Gin Blossom shirts too, but I wanted to commemorate it.
Probably
they make good money on this too, which I want them to make a little money for me.
Oh, well, I was going to say that's like a $65 shirt at the merch table.
Oh yeah, $40 at the merch table, and I think she paid $30 online or $25 or something.
Saved a couple of pennies, man.
Dude, I was kind of nonplussed by that though when that happened. I think Micah was a little more sticker shocked, and I'm like, no, that's the way it goes at these shows. And I don't know that I really mind it that much because first of all, it's opt-in and it's the way that they make their money. I mean, merch and these live ops is how bands make money. And so shout out to Sugar Ray and shout out to Gin Blossoms and Tonic. They came all the way to Chesterfield County to play, which was awesome, and they were great.
How was the crowd? Really sold out?
Yeah, it was sold out. It's just like a little venue, like it's like a little impromptu thing in the middle of like a football field, basically. I mean, I was thinking about it. I'm like, in some sense, these guys have really fallen far to be playing here, but they're still playing and probably making tens of thousands of dollars on the show and having a good time. And I think we were only 10 or 11 rows back. I got really good seats for everybody, and it was surreal seeing Mark McGrath that close, especially. Yeah. And man, and I've always loved him. He's an awesome showman. Shout out to Mark.
I like him better than the band, and I like the name of the band better than I'm not dissing Sugar Ray. I'm not a big fan, but I love the name of that band. That's a great name. But listen,
you know what their original name was?
No.
Shrinky Dinks with an X.
Is that right?
Yeah, and they got sued.
That's just bad.
They did the right thing by changing it.
The thing about Sugar Ray is that they sold out and they very blatantly did it and they don't care. And what I mean by that is that their first record, which is called like Chocolate Cake and Lemonade or some weird shit like that in the mid 90s, is a nu metal record.
Yeah.
Straight up. And then their second record with the one with Fly on it is a nu metal record with the exception of the song Fly, which became their big radio hit. And then they made the record 1459, which was emblematic of their 15 minutes of fame almost being up. That's when they sold out, and that's where like Every Morning and Someday and all of those, and I loved all of that stuff. So anyway, shout out to them. But dude, the Gin Blossoms, very surreal. What a band. And if you want to read a sad story about a band and like how fucked up a band can be in the beginning, go read about the Gin Blossoms.
Interesting.
Because their guitarist and songwriter Doug Hopkins, and some people will know this, he's the one that wrote Hey Jealousy, Until I Hear It From You, and all these. He was kicked out of the band right when they were recording that record because he was an alcoholic and he was like out of control. They became huge. He got a gold record in the mail because they sold 500,000 units and he killed himself.
No way.
Yeah.
Were they called the Gin Blossoms back then, or did they change it?
Yeah. No, they were. And so their next record is called Congratulations, I'm Sorry, because that's what everyone would say to them when.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. When they would, a lot of people don't know about that.
Thank
but
you
that's
for that
true,
upbeat note bringing in the show. That's
you're very welcome. Hey, good to see you, my friend. Mr. Matty Plays coming in from Deimos, the moon surrounding Mars, with his glasses. How are you today, my friend?
I'm a little tired today, guys. I apologize. I'm a little low energy. This puppy, it's the best form of birth control I could have ever asked for, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit. He woke up, like we went to bed at I think 1 a.m. He wakes up at 3. He's just shitting everywhere, dude. Everywhere, man. It was on the carpet, stayed in. So it's like I'm up till 4, just scraping away, shampooing the carpets, go to bed, get a bad dream, wake up like 3 hours later. I'm like, fuck, just can't sleep tonight. So not doing too hot today, but happy to be here. And just continuing the somber note to start this show, I guess.
Man, you'll appreciate this, Matty. You're not alone in that. We just had recently some dog fiascos as well. I sleep with a Blanche Devereaux mask on when I sleep.
I've considered that. I've considered that. Which
is awesome. But Treble, Russian Treble sleep with us. And then she gets out of bed and I just hear it going on. And then I hear a wet fart, right? And I have my Blanche Devereaux mask on and I don't see anything, but I'm like, no. and I get up and it's just all over our carpet. The good news is that we have like a nice carpet cleaner that we can use.
I use a Bissell. So that's
yeah, exactly. Okay. And that'll basically do the trick. Yeah. It's much better than pee, frankly, getting on your carpet. It's a little easier to get, but you'll appreciate that over the last 3 days, I've had people in my house finally fixing every piece of molding and everything around all of my kitchen island that Treble bit and chewed when she was a little puppy and destroyed like thousands of dollars worth of damage. So we just got that all fixed as well. So dog fiascos,
dude, they're expensive. Like we're just already planning like what we're gonna have to redo once he's out of his chewing phase. Because my fiance's always had a little teacup poodle who's like the most innocent, perfect, do no wrong type of dog, and she's had that for a decade. So getting a rat terrier puppy, very defiant breed, very fiercely independent breed, they do what they want when they want kind of energy. And I told her, I said, you're lining up to learn some lessons, because she'll like leave a bag of food on like the couch or her purse like out in the open. And I'm like, this dog's gonna grab something that's expensive and he's gonna chew it without any remorse. You're gonna be out a lot of money. Like my old rat terrier Revan, he chewed through like 2 pairs of my dad's glasses that were like $400 each. Just bad. Yeah. So this breed, I got a lot of love for them, but they're costly. They're costly.
They test you though. They test your patience. They test your love.
That's really what puppies are about. Yeah. They're always limit testing you. It's like they're playing a MOBA. They're just limit testing you constantly.
That's why they're made cute.
How far they can get before you push them back in lane.
Yeah, and it's interesting too with Rush and Treble for me, just how different they are from each other. Treble's very, very. It's actually a perfect name for her because that's Base's dog, like his Rush, the bad guy. So in later Mega Man games, and so it's like she's a little mischievous. Lord Cognito, my friend, good to see you. Welcome back to the fold. In lighter orange, but still orange glasses, perhaps transmitting from another space station here in the solar system. How are you today, my friend?
We're good. Coming down from Constellation with our glasses. But
even down.
I know, right? I'm doing better. Still a rough week in terms of. I'm getting tired of like doctor follow-ups and specialists, and also like what I realized in Jersey, that as opposed to New York, there's this weird thing where receptionists feel that they don't have to pick up their phone, and you're like, oh, they're out of the office or whatever. And I've had this before with specific specialists, and then you go in and it's a full office and you see them not picking up their phone. So I had to go off on people because I'm like, this is ridiculous. I got conditions I need answers for, and you guys are not answering phones. Like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's so annoying. So we got that, and then I did learn that if you are hospitalized and a specialist needs like any type of testing that was done, they can't just get that from the hospital. I have to literally physically go into medical records, fill out a form to have it released to the specialist that they're affiliated with, which I was quite upset with.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. Other than that, I'm feeling better though. The last 2 days I probably felt normal and felt like myself, and my strength's coming back, my stamina's getting better. So I could feel it now, but I'm still not pushing everything to the limit, but I'm just like, okay, I'm coming back. So thanks for everyone for the kind words. Thanks for the kind words, Colin. And, it was good to hear from you, checking in and everybody that checked in and stuff like that, but I'm doing much better.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. I try to like walk a fine line with like, do people want to hear from me in certain situations? I always think about that because I think a lot of people do it. They want to be nice, but they also do it as like they're checking a box or like they feel like they need to be seen. And for me, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I should probably stay out of people's business until they reach certain thresholds or whatever. So felt very appropriate to text you at that time. But I'm thinking of Dig. I don't know if you saw. Oh, you saw it this week. Like our father-in-law got in like a really bad car accident. And he's fine, but his car got fucking totaled.
Yeah.
And I just texted him later that night, and I was like, I'm pretty sure you're tired of talking about this. So I'm just letting you know I'm thinking of you and doing the motion, but knowing you don't have to go reciprocate because you're probably tired of talking about this. Know that I would know that I know that you know that I'm here, and that you know that I know that you don't want to talk, I guess is what I'm saying. It's like and he got it. So
he got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad he was there. That was scary to see the pictures.
That's 95. He was spun around, right?
Wow.
Like,
And it was someone else's fault.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's hard to do when everybody's going in the same direction, regardless of speed. Everybody's traveling in the same direction. Could be congested, could not be, could be a little less congested, but that's serious business. And apparently he came to a stop from that spin, like only feet away from like a giant road sign, like those giant metal pillars.
Ooh.
So yeah, and 95, you know what I mean? Like so crowded all the time. Who knows how many he got lucky. He's a little banged up, right? A little bruised up, but
yeah, I'm gonna see him tomorrow because I'm going over there. It's Mom's birthday tomorrow from when we're recording.
Yeah,
so go over there and see them, see how they're doing, and talk to them in person. But yeah, and on that high note as well.
What is going on?
Everyone's doing great. Everyone's great. Everyone's great.
Everybody looks fantastic. Can I just say this is a great looking crew? I'm not including myself here. Who I'm looking at. I'm looking at you guys. Right.
Good.
Kyle, you're the lowest one on the toe, but the other two,
no doubt about that.
handsome, just handsome.
I wouldn't. I'm not even going to dispute that in any way, shape, or form. I would never do that. All right, let's see what the topics are this week. Okay, Dave, let's start with you this week.
I love this part. It's so exciting when we don't know where he's going.
Yeah, you don't know. We never really start with you. Actually, I want to hear from you first today, actually.
All right. Well, this is a fun one. And I kind of want your guys' advice on this too, because I think I may have a pretty controversial stance on this topic, but I'm just going to come down. I'm going to be dogmatic about it. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Okay. We're going to talk about multitasking today. This is one that comes up in my life daily, really, because I happen to be married to a great, notorious, infamous, I don't know which way you want to take it, multitasker. She really is good at it. And the thing that kind of adds insult to injury for me is that I can't multitask at all. And I'll tell you why or how I learned this. This is when it really kind of occurred to me. I was in my early 20s. I might have been 20, I might have been 21. I was in college at the time, and I dropped out of art school about 2 years in. I was just fried. There were various reasons. And I already started late, so it was already kind of a bad look. But I got about 2 years in, and I just took time off to decompress from school, fully planning to go back, but making all the adults in my life at that time very nervous. Like, what is he doing? So, and I just was kind of skating and taking it easy. I was smoking a lot of ciggies at that point, partying a little bit, drinking. But I just worked retail. And I worked at various, mostly clothing retail spots. I was living in Philly at the time, downtown. And I think at the time I was at like Urban Outfitters or something. And I was working full time, but I was making like zero money. So you got to think back, this is like 95, 96. And I was working 40 hours a week, making like $300 or something. And I was getting really frustrated with it because I had to pay rent. I had to pay utilities. I shared rent with a couple of roommates at that time, but I had to eat. I was kind of on my own, right? And that $1,200 a month or whatever it came out to just wasn't enough money. And I was really feeling like feeling shitty about it. I remember being in the break room. It was Urban Outfitters. I was having my lunch, and I must have been coming off like very disgruntled. I was giving off that, that energy. And my friend Adam came in to have his lunch. He was like, "What's going on, dude? Like, what's going on with you?" Whatever. And I was like, "Dude, I can't do this." And it was payday, and we had our pay stubs. We had our checks. And I was like, "This is bullshit. Like, making $300 a week. I'm here all the time, like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Something's got to give here." And he was like, "Dude, and I knew this about him, but I never really thought about pursuing it. He was waiting tables at night at this pretty nice restaurant up on Locust Street, right in the heart of Center City in Philly." And he was like, "Dude, I'm making like mad scratch at this place. You should just come and wait tables. They're always looking for waiters and waitresses, especially for like the busy shifts for like the weekends and stuff, because the restaurant does a huge turnover. It's a big place. It's a really big spot, and they do a lot of business. So just come in. I'll hook you up with the manager, Tim. You go in, interview, blah, blah, blah." So I met with Tim. He was really cool. I had no waiting experience, so I didn't know what they were going to say, but he was like, "I'm going to hook you up with one of the waitresses. You kind of shadow her one weekend. She'll train you. And then if she thinks you're good enough, she'll kind of put in the good word. She'll give you the nod. And then you kind of come in and you do your thing, and we'll give you a couple of shifts, see how it works out." So I said, okay. So met this girl. I think it was a Friday night. It was busy. This girl, I remember her name, Lori. She was really kind of like, she wasn't the warmest, right? She wasn't the most welcoming. And I had to shadow her. I think she was just kind of aggravated that she had to be bothered doing this thing. But she was going through the motions, and I was shadowing her, and she was waiting tables, and, she was really efficient and fast, and she had like 8, 9 tables at a time. Again, pretty nice restaurant, pretty high priced menu.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the waiters and waitresses got really dressed up. Like it was a pretty formal spot. And I remember thinking to myself, like, there's no way I could handle this. This is too much. I can't do this. I'm just not built to be able to sustain like 7, 8 tables at a time, busy. They're asking for things, you know what I mean? That type of thing. And I got through shadowing her that night. I remember she was cashing out at the bar. I remember one of the bartenders was her boyfriend. And she was cashing out at the bar, and she must have been saying something to him like, "This dude is the worst. Like, there's no way this dude's going to work out." Because I see him kind of looking up and laughing and looking in my direction.
Oh,
and
that
and
look.
stuff. And I remember she kindly was like, "Oh, here's $20 to help me out and help me run food and help me bus and all that kind of stuff." And she was like, "But look, I'm going to be totally honest with you. There's no way this is going to work out. Like, you're not built for this." Like, she was just like brutally honest, and I remember she wasn't being funny. She was just being like upfront about it. She was like, "There's just no way that you could do this." Like, she already knew in that 4 hours that I was shadowing her that there was just no way I could do it. And I remember kind of being crestfallen. I was like, "Oh shit. Like, I see you guys are taking home like $300 a night. Like, that's what I make in a week." So I kind of really wanted this gig, even if it was a couple of nights a week. And for some reason, they hired me anyway. I don't know if it was my friend Adam's sort of goodwill, and like he was just kind of greasing the wheels for me or whatever, but I got in there. But Lori was a bitch, but she was completely correct. Like, I could not, if I got more than like 3 tables, I was in the weeds. The bartenders would make fun of me. They'd be like, 86 Dagan, he's out. Like, he's got more than 3 tables. And like my section would be like 7 or 8 tables. Ooh. So it was, but I if it got up to half of that, I'd be running around. Like,
what was so confusing to you about that? I've never done it, but what was so confusing to you about that? That seems to be somewhat manageable in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I'm just not built for that. I'm just not built to be that. I don't know, like, spread myself out over so many things. Like, now you're seating a table and you're greeting, but another table is like, further into their meal. Now they're worrying about dessert. You got to bring them a dessert menu. It was just too much for me. It got to the point where it was bad because other waiters and waitresses would have to pick up parts of my section every time I worked. And they, in a way, they were happy to do it because they made more money, but they were also probably, sometimes because having to take some of the weight off of me, maybe they had 10, 11 tables now. That's a lot for anybody, no matter how good you are. And I remember there were some career waitresses at that place. Like they were pros, basically. And it got to the point where there was a lot of ill will. Like I just wasn't a welcome.
The ecosystem at this restaurant.
I wasn't. I was like, nobody wanted to work a shift. If they saw me on that shift, they'd be like, "Oh, fuck."
They'd be like, "Oh man, this dude again."
So they had to come up with this whole thing where it was like, all right. And I guess they were being kind. They didn't really want to fire me. They didn't want to kick me to the curb. So they come up with this whole thing where they're like, all right, Dagan's just going to bust tables for everybody. And then the entire wait staff will pay him out. So he could still pick up 3 or 4 shifts a week, but he's not going to be a proper waiter. He's not going to have a section. He'll just help all of us run food, bust tables, maybe bring drinks from the bar, whatever. Right. And that worked. And I really enjoyed that also because I didn't have to deal directly with the customers. Somebody was called on me. I'd say, "Oh, I'll get your waiter. Or I'll get your waitress." Right. So it actually worked out. I made a little bit of money, maybe a little less than I would have, but it worked out. But that's when I realized, multitasking's now for me. But here's what I think of multitasking. Before I kick it off to you guys, and you guys could argue your point. Maybe you agree with me. I don't know. I think it's bullshit. I think multitasking is bullshit because here's the thing. Here's what multitasking is telling me. I've never heard someone say
this before. I'm so interested.
Great, I would know where this is going.
Right? This is what you're saying when you say you want to be a good multitasker. You're saying you want to be a jack of all trades and a master in none. Right. And I'm the type where if I'm doing a thing, right, and this is much to Helene's consternation, like this gets her so aggravated. Like if I'm folding towels, if I'm cleaning dishes, I don't mow the lawn anymore, but if I mow the lawn, I'm giving 110%, right? That my philosophy is let me do the thing. Let me do it the best that I can. If I'm spending the time doing this, I'm going to do it the best I can, right? No matter what it is. And then I'll move on to the next thing. I'm not lazy. I don't mind, stringing along tasks throughout the day, but let's do one thing at a time. This multitasking shit is basically telling me to do a shitty half-ass job with each thing, right? But here's the thing where that's my argument on the surface. That sounds really good. But when Helene does things and she's doing, like she's cooking and then she's doing a load of laundry at the same time, maybe dealing with the kids, whatever they got going on, she's doing everything great, right? So am I just an idiot that I can't do more than one thing right at a time? Like I can't give 110%? Because honestly, even if I did the laundry to 90% of my ability, no one's going to say anything, right? No one's going to notice. No one's going to know what that 100% bar is. But I always think of that of, let me just do one thing at a time, right? And I guess if it ever gets to the point where it's like, where I see Helene packing her bags, that I may have to switch up, my theory and my mantra. But right now, it kind of works where I don't care. Like, let me just do the thing. I'll do the next thing. I'll work all day. I don't mind, but I don't want to do things all together. It's too haphazard for me. I think I have too much of a one-track mind, maybe, where it's like, I feel like I don't like chaos. And should waiting on 3 tables be chaos? No, but maybe I have a low threshold for that.
You definitely have a low threshold for chaos.
I do. I definitely do. That's why I had to stop at 2 kids, I think. Honestly, 3 kids terrified me. It terrified me.
It'd be interesting to see you as a journalist or something. That wouldn't work out for you too well. I'll get to me. Dig, where do you want to kick it off? It's your topic.
Let's go. I never go to you first, Colin. Let me go to you first, then we'll go to the rest of the boys.
Okay, sure. I think I'm a great multitasker. I love multitasking, although I tie it in with procrastinating. I'm sorry, I can't speak right now. Procrastinating. And the idea that, so let me give you an example. And this will be funny. Like the thing that I know I need to do most, I'll always put like behind everything else. And I get to it, right? But a great example happened yesterday. I need to play Alan Wake. Again, I'm playing it a second time. I just played it a few weeks ago. I love it, by the way. And I know it's a very divisive game. We were talking about it a little bit before we started recording. I find it so charming and so interesting. And so I'm really enjoying that, but I knew I had to get to it at the end. I just had watched Thursday Night Football, Vikings, Eagles. So I was like, all right, I put the game on. It was on Amazon Prime. I'm already on my PS5. I kick on the game and it's Alan Wake. And it's like, continue. And so I'm like, all right, I'll get there. So then I get up and I put all of the dishes away, like from the sink in the dishwasher and start the dishwasher. I take my bong and I clean it completely for no reason, just complete. I go around and water all the plants around me. And then I look in the fridge and kind of straighten things out a little bit there, throw some things out in the garbage. And then I sit down and play the game. And that's how I know, like, I always have I have this discipline where I know I don't miss things. You get your shows on time, right? Always out there in the audience, right? Like I go to my social events and my appointments on time, and I do all the things that I need to do. And there's little reason for me to be able to break out of that. And I'm very focused on that. So knowing I put that last and then putting everything else before it means I inevitably get to it, and I do all of the things that I need to do in between then and now. And so I feel like that's the way I've always somewhat tried to operate. I remember in college, I worked 2 jobs, and I was a landscaper, as everyone knows. We talked about that a million times, and a grounds person at Northeastern. And then I was a freelancer at IGN, and I wrote tons and tons and tons of shit for IGN during college. I was constantly writing for them. I didn't need to do both. I just wanted a lot of money to spend on booze and and girls or whatever I was doing at the time, And so I was very busy, and I remember, and I did well at Northeastern, and I did my homework and did all my papers. But what I would always do is I'd put like the thing that I really wanted just last. And so it's like, I want to watch Seinfeld in syndication at 11 o'clock on channel 10 or whatever it was in Boston. And so I know I need to do X, Y, and Z and 1, 2, and 3 in between now and then. And I try to use it together. So multitasking in the main is about doing lots of different things at once. And I think that I did that professionally at IGN. Like, that was a nightmarish job in a lot of different ways. People always ask me you guys probably get this too when you're interviewed by people about your jobs. It's like, what's a day like in the life of Colin Moriarty? And I'm like, dude, that has no definition. Yeah. None. Like that. When I worked at IGN, I had no idea. I'd get in there at 9 o'clock. It's all right. I got to go capture footage for a video review. And then I got to go to my desk and write a script for a review and then record the audio. Then I have to go out for an appointment, and then I have to go to lunch with someone. Then I come back in and I have 2 hours to play a game that I'm trying to like chip away at for review embargo. And then I have to go to a meeting, and then I have to write a news article, and then I go home. And then the next day could literally just be me in the bay playing a game the entire day, capturing the entire thing. Like I don't know. So that kind of.
You guys had like a dedicated room for that?
We had.
So I don't know.
We for capture.
Yeah.
You're saying?
Yeah.
We had 4 different rooms for that.
Oh, cool.
At IGN.
Wow.
Yeah. They were. We called them Bay 1, Bay 2, Bay 3, Bay 4. And you would be on the schedule and it'd be like, yeah, you go to Bay 2. And they had, I don't remember, Avid, I think it's what it's called, the system.
Yeah.
AVID.
Yeah.
And so it was this like sophisticated thing where you could, it was like a server-based system where you can put your videos on file and then you can access them from any other desk. Right. And then the video review people would get them. And we had a 5th bay that was like an audio booth, basically, for VO. And then we had a podcast studio as well. And so, and that was the thing, is like some days podcast beyond, some days you'd have to do videos. Things would just happen during the middle of the shows. You'd be there in the middle of the night for TGS. I told that story recently about how surprised one of our editors in chief was about how obsessed I was that I was there during the middle of the night, like during TGS. And it's like, yeah, dude, I'm here to win it. You know what I mean? So I love the idea of I love hard work, and I love the idea of doing things. And I love the idea of balancing all that stuff too. You have to go take a shower. You want to put something in the oven. You preheat the oven, you go in the shower, you get out of the shower, the oven's preheated, you put the food in, you just saved yourself 20 minutes. Maximizing your time and efficiency, not because there's anything to do. See, this is what's confusing about people. I want to maximize time to completely waste it. But what I don't want to be doing is I don't want to maximize time to use it in any useful way almost ever. I love maximizing time to be like, you have nothing to do.
Right.
We are very similar.
And a reward. So you have a built-in reward system. You want to get to that thing where it's just relaxing and feeling like you earned it, because I could turn on the video game right now and play it, but I know there's going to be that feeling of guilt of like, and that feeling of, oh, but there's all this shit still to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's, but what you were talking about, Kyle, didn't seem like multitasking until you said the thing about preheating the oven and hopping in the shower. That's proper multitasking. I'm thinking about Helene with the laundry basket under one arm, stirring the stir fry with the other arm. It's like, just do the one thing and then do the other thing. I understand.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I understand.
Right?
Yeah, I guess I'm
I mean?
misinterpreting what you're saying. Yeah, sure. Because I think, I don't know, for me, the way I've always seen multitasking is just like having lots of things going at once, not necessarily in the moment, but things that, like a checklist of things to do that are non-sequential or whatever, as opposed to going in and being the animator or going in and being the writer. I never lived, and actually not so much you, Dig, although I hope in the future as you get more into your private endeavors, but I'm pretty sure the other, Cog and Matty would understand completely. Just owning an entity means you have a billion different things going on at once. And I try to multitask just especially with emails where like I just try to get responses out quickly if I can, just so like there people are on the clock. And then it's like, well, that's not my problem anymore.
Yep. It's on them now. It's on them. Yeah. You sent out that. Yep, I know.
I love that.
Constellation is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook, where you can bet on NFL games and lots of other sports too. Learn more by downloading the DraftKings app and using the code Constellation when you sign up. Okay, so football season is finally here, and it's an exciting time for all of us, except for those of us who conspicuously predicted the injury of his team's star player in a previous ad. Hey, that's how it goes sometimes, especially if your team is blatantly cursed. You win some and you lose some, or in the case of my Jets, we basically lose them all. But a clear win for you and I is downloading the DraftKings Sportsbook app and using the code Constellation when you sign up. When you do, you'll get $200 in bonus bets to make on NFL games by merely spending $5 of your own. It's practically begging you to try your odds, responsibly, of course. And since DraftKings provides awesome offers for its user base every game day this NFL season, that means you can look forward to Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, and the occasional holiday through the rest of the season. My friends, football is more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with the code Constellation. That's CONSTELLATION. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code Constellation. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, that's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort of Kansas, licensee partner is Golden Nugget Lake Charles in Louisiana. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football for terms of eligibility and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. But Cog, let's hear from you. Maybe you have a more stringent definition, because I went on for like 7 minutes and Dagan's like, that's not even what I'm talking about.
No, this is great. I love Dagan's story, and I love this, how he processes it. We're definitely different. I think for me, I'm definitely an unhealthy master of multitasking. I am too good at it. And I think it comes from my IT background. Being in IT, initially starting help desk, starting desktop support for like executives and things like that. I was moving at 100 miles an hour because there's always crisis. And then in IT, you're rated on the amount of tickets you have, the volume, your efficiency. So speed is rewarded. Speed is just like, oh, he knocked out this and he did this and he fixed that server and yada, yada, yada. So it becomes a thing of like crisis management, and similar to what Colin was saying, which is like, my thing is like, yo, boom, boom, boom. If I can knock all this out, then I got the rest of the afternoon. I can do what I can make my plan for my laziness and chill time, right? So now when it comes to life, the sheer amount of things, and Matty knows, because we and Matty talk a lot. So it's just like the sheer amount of things I can do revolving around myself, personal, business, medical, advice, relationships. I'm people's therapist sometimes. It's crazy. And the only thing that's unhealthy that I do need to work on is that sometimes I am just way too accessible. I'm just too nice, and I'm too willing to dive into the fire to save the day, to help out, because I feel, boom, I can fix. Again, it's the IT in me, right? I can fix it. I can resolve it, that kind of thing. I think my kryptonite to the multitasking is, I think you'll laugh both, is if in order for me to be efficient, I don't want to talk to you per se or others around me. Like, let me focus, right? So I have to be razor focused with my multitasking. It's an environment. Sometimes I need quiet. Sometimes, all right, boom, I'm just doing this. Okay, boom, here's the next thing. Here's the next thing. If I have a friend just sitting there talking to me about random foolishness, it annoys me because it's breaking my focus to get all the things done. Yeah. And Atticus is best at this. He loves to just talk to me about random stuff. And a lot of times he can tell I'm not listening because I'm just like, bro, I got to do this. Or like, bro, I'll call you back. Because like, I guess his era, he's a great multitasker. He can talk and have full conversations about random things. I want to be efficient at the task, right? So that's where I guess it comes in. But I understand your point about having the focus towards the one thing to be way better at it and get it out. And some things you just have to. Some things you do have to have that singular focus. It's just so much going on. There's so many moving parts to a specific thing that you're trying to get done. But yeah, it's, I guess where I'm different, it's kind of a badge of honor for me. Like, I look back at the day like, yo, look at all that I did today. If anybody knew what I did.
That must feel good, seriously.
Yeah, like it's a little ego. Like, look how efficient I am. Like you have no idea I did all this and I saved my family. like it's just, I admit, it's the IT of me. I'm proud of it. I'm proud. And the problem is sometimes I do need to just say no. Okay, this is too much, and I've gotten better at it, especially recently with conditions and stuff. But yeah, I think that was
excuse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See now, Matty just nailed it.
Get really comfortable.
I'll be like, hey, I got to protect myself, guys. I can't do this. Even like random stuff like podcast requests. I know Colin, you must have, Matty, you guys get it a lot. Like people want, to hear from you and talk to you and stuff like that. Sometimes you got to protect that and just be like, look, no, man, I got a condition right now. I really got to slow things down. Yeah. This can go out in a month or two and we'll reconvene. Like, rescheduling with people is also big and saying no sometimes. But I like this topic. I thought about a lot of different things of how I definitely am the extreme side of you.
You picked a career that it works for you. Your skills apply directly to, and being in IT, man, I can't even imagine because you're kind of on call. You're at the behest of everybody.
Yeah. And what it is, it's the unwritten rule, like a fire department, like it's expected for you to stop what you're doing. It's the weekend, something blew up, you got to at least look at it and have feedback, because you will be challenged on what happened. And even though it's not contractually written, but it's understood. It's IT, and people they'll frown upon you like, hey, this guy, he hit him on the Saturday or, on the weekend and something happened and, we didn't get a response from COG. Like,
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, it's always been in me from the beginning.
And I chose a career too, where obviously this is not why, but it definitely probably unconsciously was part of it, where I get, I'm an animator. I get a scene, right? They're like, get it done in 3 days, get it done in a week. And I don't have to deal with anybody. I get my assignment, then I deliver it, right? It's a deadline driven thing. And we'll talk about procrastination another time. That's a whole other thing. But once they know my personality, the producer or the director I'm working for, they definitely don't bother me, because that would be, even if I'm animating something and I get called into a meeting, that's a lot. I'm like, it's like almost like the end of a workday where I have to shift from animating to cooking dinner. I'm just like, oh my God, like I could never just stop in the middle of the day, go cook dinner and come back. I have that very single track focus where it really does. I mean, it sounds kind of funny and I laugh at myself, but anything short of just doing that one thing until it's over and then moving over to the other thing is chaos. I just can't. It's just like, I can't do it's, I picture Helene when we were younger, one kid's around her leg, literally hugging her leg. She's got the laundry basket. She's got the Windex in the other hand. She's stirring the gravy with her mouth or whatever she's doing. Like, it's just like, no, it's like, it's like visions of Mr. Mom or whatever. It's like, that's for a movie. That's not for me. And thank God I chose a woman that's patient with me. I mean, that's kind of a recurring theme in Knockback. I mean, and Constellation, I feel
Yeah,
like.
I would say that. Yeah,
Right.
she gets a lot of credit.
Matty, where are you with this, my friend?
I kind of feel like I fall in the middle of all of you from the stories you've shared. It's like the rise of a multitasker at the same time as the deterioration of one. Like what I'd say is, Dagan, I'm more like you where I like to do one thing at a time. There was a time, I tried to do a lot of things at once and I felt I excelled that way. But I think as I took on more, a lot of things needed my individual attention. And so what I need to do is to learn how to focus on one thing and try to get it done quickly, but not do a shit job. Right. And so in one instance, like I felt like I was Superman, like I'd keep my schedule in my head. Like I had a sense of pride of like not even writing it on my phone. Like I was like, yeah, I know what I need to do today. Obviously we know what happened. I started missing shows. Things started to slip once I started on my own house because my responsibility list was already big. And then you add everything else on top of it. And so it was like the deterioration of like the master multitasker, but you humble yourself, you buy a little planner and you start writing things down. And so what it's been for me is, I don't really do a lot of things at once because I lose focus. Like what'll happen, like I can't even, like if I'm editing a video, right? Like I've heard people who are editing their own content and, I'm trying to listen to my voice, make sure what I'm hearing, what I'm saying, matching up gameplay with it or whatever I want to show on screen. And like if I'm listening to any music that has vocals in it, I just like my focus breaks. I'm like, I can't do this. And
That's so me. Yeah.
it's just like even now, like I'll when I'm recording a review, I might be on Discord, and so I have to like label my gameplay files to make sure when I'm editing it later, like I'm kind of like still working. If you want, I'm playing, but I'm still working. And like if people are talking and stuff, I'm just like I just can't focus as well. So what I've learned is just to kind of break up all these things I have to do and try to set up my day similar to Colin's, where it's like, okay, what needs to get done now, and what do I kind of want to frivolously waste my time doing, right? And so that's where I've found myself now, where like, I'll bounce sometimes. Like I really try not to ping pong. Like yesterday I was finishing a video edit, and then my script editor reached out and said like, hey, I did X amount of pages for your game. Give it a look when you get a chance. And so wrapped up the edit while it was rendering, bounced over to the dock, saw what was changed, started going over it, render finished, upload. So like those are the moments of multitasking for me. But like, dude, here's a perfect example. And I don't know if it's because I'm sleep deprived, but this morning, I'm trying to just be a good fiance. Just like my fiance's working really hard. Like, let me just make her some breakfast, right? I see her. She's always in meetings. She's cranking away on the laptop. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make a chicken egg breakfast sandwich, right? It's got all the things laid out. So I start toasting the bread in the air fryer. Just we don't have a toaster oven right now, so it's like the quickest way to do it. Fire up the frying pan with a little coconut oil on it, and I throw the chicken on. I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing fine here. Dogs got to go out, take them out, come back. Bread is burnt. Fucking oil's gone. Got to replace it. I'm just like, I suck at this. I was like, I'm literally fucking awful at this. And it's like this, like I said, it's like the rise of like, oh, I can do a lot of things professionally at once and excel there. But like when it comes to life, like I'm like you, Dagan, I'm like, let me do the laundry, then cook dinner, then take the dogs out. Like I can't ping pong. I can't in that level. And I don't know if it's because I need to get better at it, because I think I'm a decent cook. Like, especially for someone my age who like, I try to do things kind of quick and on the fly. Like I feel like I make good, healthy meals that present themselves well. I'm proud of that, but because it's actually one of, I think the first topics I brought the Constellation about, like cooking and meals and, and sharing recipes.
Yeah,
I love that stuff. But like, I could tell I was slipping there this morning. So I'm like, it's not the first time I've like fucked up a meal and had to start over. I'm like, God, man, like what's going on with me? So I feel you, Dagan, but at the same time, I feel like I ride Cog's like ability to kind of excel and leap in, but learning when to say no, but also Colin's, organization of the day. Cause for Colin, it's like earning, like I want to, or just pretty much like what time can I waste? For me, it's kind of this almost philosophy built into me of like I want to earn my leisure time. So kind of like what you said, Dagan, like where it's hanging in the back of your head, like I'm playing this game, but I'm ignoring something. Like I need to be detached, guilt-free. Like there's nothing left for me to do. I have put it all on the line today, finished everything, and now I can move on. Unfortunately, though, that means that some nights, like, my leisure time doesn't begin till like midnight, and then I go to bed at 1 a.m. and it's like, well, that sucked. So sometimes it's just too much. But yeah, it was definitely a great topic, because I was thinking, I was like, I don't know if I consider myself good at it or bad at it. I'd say I fall like right in the middle of the road.
That's good.
I like the
I will say,
perspectives.
I was going to say, I dig if I might, like
Sure.
something you said resonated with me a lot, Matty, which was, I will say, and so maybe I'm learning that I'm not a multitasker in this definition, or in the more pure definition, which is when I read or write, like I have to just have, especially when I'm writing, I can't have anything going on around me.
Yeah.
If I'm really trying to write something.
Yeah.
And if I'm reading something, I can be around whatever. I don't mind being around noise when I'm reading, but I'm not listening to anything you're saying. And Mike has actually learned that about me over time, where she'll say something to me and I won't respond for like 10 seconds, and she understands I'm not insulting her. I'm just finishing what I'm reading. And then I'm like, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yep.
And she'll never get mad at me, because she knows that like I'm just focused in.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there are other things, like I feel like I'm wasting time sometimes when I'm not multitasking. For instance, I love video games, play them constantly, more than we were talking about this on Sacred Symbols. I might be playing more video games than I ever have in my adult life at this point.
Wow. And
maybe parts of my childhood and teen years too, when I had a lot more time on my hands. But I feel like I'm wasting time sometimes when I'm playing. A game like Borderlands is a good example. When I play a game like Borderlands, so Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, when that came out last year, I played that and I beat that, and I just listened to podcasts the entire time, because I feel I can't just do that, and I'm like, well, I don't really need to listen to it too much, and I can just pause it and listen to the dialogue. But then there are games like Alan Wake, where I'm playing now, where I just have my headphones on and I'm really focused in on it. So I definitely have this. I'm definitely broken by media in a lot of different ways.
I don't know. Some games got to earn that kind of respect. Like Tiny Tina is a podcast game, for example. Like that 100%, you can just fucking ignore. I'm not even disrespecting the story. Like you can just ignore what's happening and just like there's a game to be played,
I did.
right?
I did.
Yeah.
I did ignore
I like
what was
that
happening,
point.
believe me.
I like that point. Yeah, some games maybe you could get away with not, doing multiple things and still enjoy it and still.
Starfield's one of those games. I love that game, but you can just zone out and just do whatever the hell you want and just not do quest lines and like do other procedural crap and just enjoy a podcast. Like there's plenty of podcast games out there. Like I don't know if media broke you in that sense. Just I'm trying to encourage you. I hope it's coming across.
I appreciate it. Like, I need great encouragement. One of these days I'm going to get into, I want to really, really dissect this idea of being broken by, I feel, I was just reflecting on a recent podcast, like how badly I feel for kids.
Yeah.
Today.
Nowadays.
Dude, I'd be so fucked up by this bombardment of stuff today. I really lucked out missing all that stuff. But Dave, let's go back to you. Are you satiated?
Yeah, it's funny what you say, that story about Micah and, getting distracted and not listening. I think that's like a thing, especially when you've been married for 20 years. And I'm so guilty of that so often. But this makes me laugh because I came in the other night and I walk in the front door. Helene's in the living room. She's like I think she's watching TV. I'm like, hey, I'm home. I was just running out I was out for like a half hour. Hey, I'm home. What are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm just checking out Facebook. And I was like, all right, I'm going to run upstairs. I go up into my studio, into my office. And about 15 minutes later, she calls up. She's like, Dagan, are you home? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I just came home 15 minutes ago. You said you were on Facebook. And she was like, she just was completely ignoring me. And she was like, oh, I was just making sure. Like,
the not admission.
It was one of those rare cases where I could actually call her out. But you guys gave me a lot of food for thought, because there's one thing that's a detriment to my situation and how it goes. First of all, thank God I have a crutch in that I have a spouse that's a good multitasker. But the other thing is I can never get caught out burning something while I'm cooking, because I can never use the multitasking excuse as a crutch, right? Because I'm not doing anything else. So if I burn something, or if I overcook the steak on the grill or whatever, it's completely my fault. And I'm a real idiot because I wasn't doing anything except cooking that steak. So I have to be really careful, because perfection is expected. And listen, I know it looks like it, but I'm not perfect. Okay,
You're a funny man. Now. You're a funny man. Okay, good. I'm glad you're satisfied. All right, Matty, let's go on to you today. Okay. Number 2 here.
Yeah, I was actually just bringing up.
By the way, did you go to the Spider-Man event?
Oh,
that what
no,
you're
no.
wearing
This is
Spider-Man shirt?
from E3 2018.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes
But
sense.
I'm dressed for the occasion. Got the controller right here.
Nice.
Oh, nice! It came in. I didn't even know it was out.
Yeah.
Dude, I love the new colors they just announced. I'm gonna get that blue one.
Yeah.
I gotta get at least
it's
one of these
nice.
new plates. I hate
Yeah.
how the PS5 looks. Like I wanted to get
Yeah.
the Spider-Man ones. I forgot about that. I looked it up, but the Walmart still had the controller, so I at least got that
Nice.
because I had to.
Sweet.
I've been bending the
Yeah.
knee to a lot of controllers this year. I got two right
Mhm.
next to me, and I was just talking so much shit this year about how I think limited controllers are dumb. But
Here you are.
Well,
Making me
my
looking
opinion on
foolish.
this, by the way, dude, I think people that play as much as we do, I think cycling a controller a year is actually optimal. Or every 18 months at the most, I get a new controller
There you
just
go.
just to tighten it up again, get going again on a new one.
I used the same PS4 controller the whole generation. Same.
That's
for the
unbelievable.
whole
Wow.
Xbox
gen?
One. My Xbox One controller had like the 2013 launch date thing. in
Oh
the
my
middle.
god.
Bro, how could
Sony
I
quality,
not use
baby.
that? That's like the controller.
That's
to
not
me.
Sony quality.
Like
It
I
is.
love that controller, man. I don't know. I've never been like I was a Mad Catz kid growing up. Like I'd throw on the PS2 and just run that third party shit from Radio Shack or whatever. Like,
Rough.
life.
I had an aversion of third party controllers from the very beginning. I
that's
didn't
funny.
I want
never
anything to do with them.
Wow.
I actually, for my Xbox One, you know what? It's funny. No, I did switch. I went to GameStop when Ori Will the Wisps came out, and I bought a pink Powerade controller for like $20. I was like, I'm gonna spend $60. This thing works, right? All right, cool. So that's all there was to it.
Wow, interesting.
Anyway, I guess that kind of speaking of Mad Catz and whatnot ties into my topic, which I wanted to talk a bit about nostalgia. So, not to plug too hard, but I run a YouTube channel called Retro Rebound. And, when we moved, I always had this vision long-term for Retro Rebound. Like when we started, I just wanted to get the ideas out there. Like, okay, a channel that can focus on modernism, but nostalgia at the same time. And the way we did that is like, oh, the new Indiana Jones movie came out. So we're going to do a whole video game retrospective about the Indiana Jones stuff that's come out at the same time as the movie launching. So like people thinking about the movie have a way to kind of connect back to the past. So it's linked to today, where it's kind of keeping up with the modern zeitgeist, but it's rooted in the past. And so as I'm doing these videos, like we do a thing called the complete in box experience. And that's kind of like the I think one of the defining parts of the channel is like what I'll do is I'll like take the game and I'll open it up on screen and be like, here's what it comes with. Like here, if you for the collectors out there, and just show people everything I buy. And as I'm getting these games from my childhood, all of these are for the most part from my childhood. Like speaking with Indiana Jones, like the Emperor's Tomb game, I loved growing up, right? And so there's this feeling like when you're paging through the manual, I try not to over script those segments of the video because you get that occasionally like, oh my God, I remember this authentic, heartfelt moment that I think gives the channel a feel. Sometimes it you don't get that, but I think it's worth the try to not be so overly prepared, overly scripted. Anyway, I had this long-term vision to kind of like when I left my office, once I moved into my new house, to get this set that kind of was like a 90s bedroom. And if you look at any of the content there now, you'll see like we have the CRT is running the game I'm talking about. You have all my action figures that I was growing up from a kid. Like I'm looking right now, I have like Spider-Man, Batman, TMNT, Rey Mysterio, Mega Man, Star Wars. There's like Pokemon cards laid about. There's posters in the background that are literally from like games we've talked about, like Legacy of Goku, Chrono Trigger, Sly Cooper, and so on and so forth. So, as I've taken this dive, it feels like a part of me has always been very warm inside because I really enjoy connecting to the past and surrounding myself with like objects that remind me of my childhood. And I always wonder if that was weird because she's different now. When I first met my fiance, she's very much like, I'm in the present. I'm like, that's where I like to be. I don't like to reflect. I don't like to look at old pictures, all that stuff. She's much different now. She's, I think, caught my bug. She likes looking at old stuff now. But for me, I'm not chasing the past, like, oh, what once was and obsessing over it in that degree. I know some people do feel that way. I have a very close friend who I think has too strong of an attachment to the past and they can't enjoy what's happening now because they're always thinking about what's happened. But I wanted to know how you guys feel about nostalgia in general. What tickles the nostalgia? It doesn't have to be games. It could be music. Sometimes for me, it's a smell. there's like a particular smell every summer that I'm like, I remember, like, I'll think of like when I was reviewing Quantum Break in 2016 in the summer, and it was just like, life was good. And I'm like, why the fuck did I think of that? Because I smelled the summer air. But like, that's what it'll do. So it doesn't have to be exactly what I'm talking about. So like I said, you know, are you guys future focused? Are you present minded? Do you like remembering the good old days? You know, because I know I say this with all due respect, I know I'm the youngest of all of us. So like, maybe for you guys who are a little bit older than me, do you kind of look back and go like, shit, man? You know, so I'm just curious where you guys stand with nostalgia, because to me, I've always found it very comforting. And that's the last thing I'll just say about the channel Retro Rebound is I kind of made it with this idea of like, number one, I wanted to branch out and not just talk about Xbox and RPGs. Like I wanted to talk about everything. Like I just wanted to open the door to talk about everything. And but I also wanted to kind of provide this comforting coffee shop kind of chill talk sort of feel that made people, like, if they had a hard day, they'd come watch a video and just get the good vibes rolling, right? Like it's a good part of their day. You know, I know I'm the Mr. Matty channel here on Defining Duke and whatnot. We have to tackle the tough topics, be real and all that stuff. And that requires like a level of focus, but like, that's a place where you can kind of unwind. So do you guys find comfort in the older things, the trinkets, the objects of days far gone bygone, or do you guys stay more present, more future focused? Let me know. I'm curious what I don't care who starts. I just want to see like where you all stand with it.
Dig, let's hear from you first. I always think of you when I think of nostalgia, because I think that's something you and I share. Now, obviously, we do a podcast that's all about our nostalgia and our shared nostalgia, knockback. And people, it's funny because, and I appreciate it, people are often like, why can't, well, for Halo, get Chris on the episode and all that. I'm like, that would be awesome, but that's not what knockback is. Yeah. It's about just the reminiscence of two brothers, just kind of the fleeting ephemera of that.
Absolutely. Of course.
And that shared relationship with the past and a shared past is something that's important to us. But I look at you as someone who is deeply nostalgic. Although I remember, I don't know, it was, I don't think I even really explained this to you. I remember there being a time when I was in like middle school and high school, and I was really into getting into nerd culture, like Star Wars and all of the rest, and had all these toys or whatever, and almost felt like you were the example of how one kind of evolves away from it. I remember when I was always confused why you had all your stuff put away, right? And where's your ad at? Why don't you have like a Slave One ship out or some? And I remember being confused by that, but then kind of thinking like, okay, this is how someone, I guess, grows up and still has an attachment to the finer things of childhood. But I just never got to that point. I just remained unabashedly and unapologetically nerdy. And it just worked out. I don't know how, and it was before it was cool, really. It certainly wasn't cool when I was in college in 2002 and 2003, and I had fucking Tales of Destiny posters on the wall. That wasn't cool. I promise. Yeah. Not one person came into that place knew what Tales of Destiny was. I guarantee you that. The ladies loved Colin. But yeah, so when I think about old games and I think about Transformers and I think about whatever, I think about you. I wonder what you think about this topic.
I love that take. I never heard you say it like that before. It's an interesting way to kick it off, because I don't know. I always argue that the Gen Xers like myself were the first generation to really be palpably, visibly nostalgic. Like if the generations before us were maybe nostalgic, and we talk about this sometimes on Knockback, maybe some older heads born in the 60s or 50s would have their Lionel train hobby or whatever. But for the most part, the Gen Xers were the first one to really kind of be transparent about it. But it wasn't cool. I remember going in the 6th grade and it was all but said out loud, like, you need to stop playing with toys now. It was the unspoken rule, and wow. You were only right behind me, your generation, Kyle. So you were still on the cusp of it. It wasn't, nerd culture wasn't pop culture quite yet for you. It was really the later millennials that ushered that era in. So I understand exactly what you're saying. And it's funny when you mention putting things away, like my old G.I. Joes or Star Wars, or handing them down to you, because as I think back now, almost over 50 years, it's like nothing stayed put away for long. Nothing. But I dig out everything. I get nostalgic now about CDs. And I dig out like my old, I'm so proud to still have my Gangstar CDs and De La and Tribe, and I don't want to get rid of that stuff. But there is a period of time where I kind of forget about it or think it's unimportant. And then I'm like, oh shit, I'm so glad I held on to this stuff because it's cyclical, which is interesting. I think for us, everybody I'm looking at here and many of our listeners, I think nostalgia is inevitable because let's just be honest, the 70s, 80s, 90s, and I'll even give a nod to the early aughts, the 2000s. It was just cooler. It was just better. Of course, we're waxing nostalgic about an era that was just better. I feel bad for kids now. Amen. My kids, right, 13 and 16, are they really going to look back on 2023 and think it was cool? Like, I feel so bad for them. It gets to that point where I have this nostalgia, but also this pride. What really makes me laugh, what Matty was saying, was that I think back to being a kid. I think I was just born deeply nostalgic, like connected to what Matty was saying, the warmth and the comfort of just remembering when. I remember this like it was yesterday. I remember going into junior high school, middle school, back in, what was that for me, 86? And already being nostalgic for my elementary school. It was like, I was already feeling that way of like, being very sensitive to, change and evolution and shifting, sort of, I guess, really what you would call it is like time passing, just really sensitive to time passing and the shifting dynamics of everything, the people, the faces, the smells, what Matty was saying, the way things looked, and just growing up. And I think there was a big part of me, and maybe this speaks to nerd culture in general, where that Peter Pan syndrome of you see the sands kind of trickling down through the hourglass, and you're going to arrive at this point where, eventually I'm going to be like my parents. I'm going to have a home. I'm going to have children and a job and responsibilities. And you're kind of slowly working up to that point. So it's almost like this thing of, let me just enjoy it now because I know I'm going to be going back and looking at this in a way that, they say you can never go home again. I do believe that, you know what I mean? I think because just the way that time evolves, but that's why you're so warm. And that's why you're thinking back to a time that was not necessarily better. I joke about past decades, but was different. It's just that inevitability of change. For me as a parent of kids that are getting older now, 13 and 16, I actually started to identify when they were younger, like I would be in a moment with them. Let's say we were at the beach or it was a birthday or something fun, something that stood out. I could identify in that time period of, I'm going to look back on this nostalgically and be in that moment and be like, okay, this is going to be nostalgia in 10 years. Graydon's third birthday, he just turned 13. That's nostalgic now, but I remember being in that dining room singing happy birthday with him as a 3-year-old and thinking back of like, okay, I'm going to look back on this and it's going to seem like, this warm memory, which is really interesting. And I just think that nostalgia, they say that it's that bittersweet feeling, but for me, there is a certain sort of melancholy or sadness associated with it, that bittersweet. But the comfort and the warmth sort of drowns out the negative aspects for me, which I think is why I enjoy thinking back to a different time or music I was listening to, people that I hang out with that I don't get to see as much, that sort of thing. I love the smell thing, Matty, because I worked for about 10 years in Manhattan, in Lincoln Center. And I would take the train up to Columbus Circle from Penn Station. I would take the New Jersey Transit into town, take the subway up to Columbus Circle, and then walk the 5 or 6 blocks up to Lincoln Center. And I did that for years. And I would pass by this random Chase Bank. And every time I would walk by this building, I would get this smell, this sweet smell of, and it was usually early in the morning or late at night. It was the cleaning crew. They were in there. The bank was closed and they were cleaning. And I smelt this very specific, fragrant type of cleanser that they were using. And it always gave me this nostalgic feeling, but I could never really quite put my finger on it. It took a couple of months. And then I realized it's the exact smell of my best friend's house growing up. You know, every time I walked by at night or early in the morning, I would have this sense of it, and it would bring me right back to the block I grew up on and that feeling of being a kid, being 8 years old, playing in the street or whatever. And I would be like, what is this? And then I realized this smells exactly like my friend John's house. Whatever his mom was cleaning with was the same thing. And that smell was like a time machine. It was just a warp. It just brought me right back to that place, feeling that way, those people, what the neighborhood looked like when the sun was setting. It was the oddest thing. It's such a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I just really love it. I think about it with my kids a lot too. I joke that they're growing up in 2023 and it's not as cool. And it isn't. But
you're right. Yeah.
I get really kind of, I get excited for them. And I'm almost so sensitive to the nostalgia that I want to almost curate that for them. Like, I think sometimes I purposely like don't give them a hard time about clean up your room or do things, you know, like, because I want their memory to be a certain way. It's like I'm almost trying to curate that for them so they have what I had growing up, where it was like I'm thinking back to a certain time and a certain place and a warmth. And, you know, sort of a time period that you wouldn't mind going back to or just visiting for a day.
And they're going to be like, they're going to think back and be like, why didn't my dad care that I didn't clean my room? And now
my room was so messy.
I know. And now look at me. Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's, I think I'll always be nostalgic. And it is, I think, also kind of that fantasy for me. Nostalgia is really kind of, it's wrapped up in this fantasy of, you really can never go back unless we invent that time machine, which may never happen, right? We can never actually go back. So it's this chase of something that you can't really do, which makes it so magnetic. It's all you have is your memories of it. Your best picture in your mind's eye of that thing or that place, of a game, a TV show, a house you grew up in, whatever it is.
Dude, I think about this sometimes, that the only evidence that it even exists that many, many, many things ever happened at all is your memory of it, your specific memory of it. The people involved with it don't remember it. There's no camera evidence or audio evidence of it or whatever. It's just, it literally would have never, it's like a forest, a tree in the forest.
Yeah.
Falling,
yeah, it's funny because like it could be something super random too. Like I remember one thing, I wouldn't say I'm nostalgic for it, but like talking about smells, like the springtime air, it's a really fucking random memory. Reminds me of Mountain Dew was doing a limited kind of run competition, and they were doing
oh boy,
it was in the competition. I think it was the one that they chose Code Red, but there was a flavor called Distortion that they were doing. Most overlooked Mountain Dew flavor, by the way. Hate that it lost. I'm still annoyed to this day. I can't stand that flavor lost. And there was whiteout in the competition, I think. Although someone's written in and corrected me. I might be misremembering. Point being is I smell the spring air and I have this image that pops in my head of me looking into the back of my mom's trunk. She had just come home from the grocery store. It was, I was playing MW2. It was on, running in my bedroom. I had to be right back, boys. Got to quickly help mom bring in the groceries. And like, there was a ton of soda. This is when I was drinking a lot of soda.
You're the Chad meme that like disconnects from the online game to help his mom.
Yeah. It's just like, I just think of that though, like staring in the back of the car, seeing the soda, like, oh, thanks, Ma. And just like completely different time. But it's like from a smell of the outdoors that in a few months' time, I'll think of it again because it'll just bring me back there. It's like, it's weird because in that moment you don't think I'm gonna reminisce on the time my mom bought soda for the household. But it's now I think back to it, like I love my family. I'm lucky I have a really good relationship with them where it's like that caretaking, those little things almost mean as much as the big things. So something like that sticks with me. It's weird, but Cog, I'm curious about you, my friend. We as Team Digital.
Team Digital, I know.
Let's do a nostalgia check.
Yeah, no, this is why I love my co-hosts, because I think that you really impress me, because normally people, my younger friends, I consider you an old soul. It's rare. I don't feel my younger friends have that same appreciation of things that came before them. And they really don't, a lot of times, unless it's something very specific or a specific subject that they're interested in. And maybe they'll ask me, hey, how was this? But for the most part, it's like, nope, here now, don't care about all that old stuff. But you're different. And I love that about you. But yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
Highly nostalgic. I mean, this is, I think, where me and Dagan really connect the most, because I feel exactly the way he feels, with the way things trigger what it takes you to the exact moment. You remember exactly what you were doing, what was going on in your life, positively or negatively, right? And it's huge. It's huge. Nothing fires the synapses like a good nostalgic memory. And I love how that feels. And I love those pockets in life. So there's different things, obviously, with media and stuff that, that triggers it. With gaming, one of the foundations of Iron Lord podcast, I remember I used to have a big pushback with me and Attic as co-hosts. I'm not letting this go. Like, when you come on, I want to do your gaming history. I want to know what got you there. What were the consoles? What were the games? And even like we'll do, your top 5. It's what's impacted you that made you who you are. I love those stories because you get to hear, people all over the world. You're like, what? Oh, wow. And sometimes you think you're the only one doing something with your little group. And there's people like Europe or whatever. And the stories you'll hear of the passion for gaming and things they had to do just to satiate this love that they had. And it's just awesome stuff. So that's gaming. Music is big for me. I am like, I'm bad. Like, I can't listen to regular radio right now. I am stuck on like Sirius XM. Like, I'm the guy, I go on, it's like Rock the Bells, old school hip hop. Then I got my 70s disco era. Like, I got into this bag where I just started loving everything. I'm like, man, they was having fun. Like, I could smell the cocaine on this one. I'm like, wow, this was a time. You can feel Studio 54 all up in the air, cocaine loud. Like, bro, it's just a fun time because you could tell by the music. And I'm like, yo, I went to a bag and just like following a lot of older singers. And then, Colin and Dave, you guys could appreciate the 80s, the big hair bands and just the way you looked, and it was a thing, and music awards and the iconic stars. Like, people forget, like, I remember when Michael Jackson, it would come on, his video would come on TV. like it would stop television and it would be like, hey, here's the new Michael Jackson, the band. I'm like, what is going on? Like, that's the imprints that it had on me. And I love that era. I love how iconic things are. And I will admit, I've never probably said this. I maybe said this once on ILP, but I'm extremely emotional with either the positive or the negative, the positive or the negative memory associated with the nostalgia, because sometimes it takes you to a dark time. You remember exactly what happened in your life. Yeah. You may have lost someone, one of your best friend's favorite things, and they didn't, they're no longer there, or it's those. And I admit I'm a nostalgic crier. That sometimes it'll bring a tear up. It'll bring a tear, and you're like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember that, man. That kind of thing, and positively too. So I love that stuff. Colin will appreciate, the and you mentioned, Dagan, also like the era of the toys, right? That was big for me. I used to fight with my mom and dad, like, I want the Storm Shadow with the Kung Fu grip, and I want the oh man, Alley Viper. Oh, look at the Crimson Guard, bro. I need this, and I would just collect. And then the story would always happen with my dad when he had visitation. It was like, what do you want? It was like toys or clothes. Clothes never won. I was like, Toys R Us, please. Like, and we go there. I remember my first box set of Devastator. I'm like, wow, they combined into one robot. I'm like, take it over my cousin's house. He's got Omega Supreme. All right, we gonna battle. He knocked my Devastator over, fell into 1,000 pieces. I almost was emotional. I just have these silly, fun, stupid stories of stuff like that. And the last one I will say that really does it, and I know some people don't like this aspect, and this is not because I'm at the company. This is even before I was at Meta. I like the Facebook flashback. I like it. I like it when it's like, yo, 5 years ago, you were here, you were doing this, you were at this event.
That's cool.
I love that stuff. I'm like,
I think it's very clever.
yeah,
have that built in.
It's an awesome feature. It literally shows you what you were doing, how you looked, who you were with. Sometimes people that relationships like, damn, I was with that person at that time. Oh man, what was I thinking, bro? Y'all should have stopped me on that one. So it's just, I love nostalgia. I'm addicted to nostalgia. That's what I'll say too.
Me too. I'm going to go get something out of my case real quick that I think.
Let's go. Digging in the crates. Let's go.
Visual aids, my friend.
Yeah, man. But I like that about you, Matty, because again, I don't see that appreciation from a lot of younger generation, and the fact that you're one of your channels like Retro Rebounds.
The games I consume, because when I really think about it, I think of Guitar
like an archaeological dig. It's like when the
focus soundtrack.
The Mexicans were showing the alien. Oh
no!
What he's got? Let's go, go.
We brought up Storm Shadow.
Woo!
Which one? There he is.
Oh, the original with the.
I mean,
oh, wise one, bro. I remember.
Perfect corporate logo.
Well, let me tell you how good my nostalgia is. When I love something, I remember when he comes out on the cartoon, I remember the theme. He would have a theme. It'd be like, da-na-na, da-na-na-da. Bro, I remember these things. Right. When I love something, I remember everything about it. And the music, continue. This is your moment.
No, this is your moment. I wanted to tickle something in you because you brought up a character that I couldn't believe you brought up. Who was like a fan favorite, Alley Viper.
Alley Viper with the shield and the mask.
Yeah, the shield. And that dope backpack with the little, like crossbow on it. And the fucking probably one of the coolest guns in the whole Cobra run. Oh my goodness,
it's so good. And I love that you changed.
I love your references,
and I love that you changed your Twitter handle to Long Island Viper. I think that's so dope. I was like, yo, he put his where he from as a Cobra, but that's fire. Like, how could you not like this guy? This guy's amazing.
Yeah, they're domestic terrorists. Don't pay any attention to that.
Cobra is always better.
Yeah, no, totally. I thought that was a good segue into like that, and I wanted to call them out because I need to get back there and like fix all this stuff at some point, dude. It's comical how much G.I. Joe shit I have right now, and that's really my tether back to the old school, and I think the physical collection, because we're talking about nostalgia in some ways like space and time. I would imagine that I'd probably be less nostalgic for the time if I lived on Long Island still, and indeed. I think that I kind of subconsciously avoid Long Island at all costs to not be in the space because that's so powerful.
You don't want to ruin it.
Well, I don't know what that's going to do to me. Like, I don't know what that's going to, imagine you and I just drove to our old house on Marie Court and just looked at it. What would that do to us?
Yeah.
To experience that as individuals and together, what kind of memories would that bring up, and feelings like you were saying, Kyle, good and bad, you know? First of all, before I forgot, I wanted to congratulate you, Matty, because I was looking at Retro Rebound. I hadn't looked in a little while. You're doing great.
Thank you.
It's killing.
Yeah, we overhauled the thumbnails, which I'm really excited about. That was like one part of the vision. It's like contrary to popular belief, when you look at my Mr. Matty channel, what we do for Defining Duke, if I had to say, if I knew what worked and what didn't work, like if I could just be a faceless content creator, you just hear my voice, that's it. You don't guys see my fucking face in the thumbnail. Like, this is my happy medium. It's like, I don't got to pose for photos. You know, I get the illustrator does like these cool renditions of me with these game characters. I'm really happy about it. Cause like, I feel like now it's finally, we're like 2 things away from like the channel being where I really want it to be. So thank you. I'm glad you like what you see.
Yeah. I didn't, I'm looking now and seeing your different thumbnails, which I'm seeing like the difference in theme. I was going to say that your Sly Cooper thumbnail is so deeply unsettling that no matter how, like what, so imagine how deeply unsettling you think it is that I think it is.
Yeah.
Then multiply that by 10.
Yeah. You don't like me crawling around with a little blue cat, like I'm going to steal something.
your little cat mask on there. Very cute. I was thinking about something, guys, like, because we were bringing up the positive and the negative. And as I understand the etymology of even the word nostalgia, its etymology is specifically negative. It's supposed to be painful memory, I think, is the idea, like a wistful memory. And I was thinking, is there a reason why evolutionarily or just naturally we are this way? And I was trying to figure it out, and I've never read about it, and it's probably way off base, and there's probably anthropologists and other scientists that have thought about this much more deeply that have a more accurate answer. But I wonder if it's because it gives us purpose to know that the people, so like our children or the next generation, are experiencing this wistful experience we wish we can go back to in some way. So it gives us something to protect. Because there's got to be some reason why we're all like this, or that many of us are like this, that it's a known thing, that nostalgia is just a thing. There's nostalgic TV, there's nostalgic film, there are entire musical tours that make tens of millions of dollars based on old music alone. I just saw it. We were just talking about it earlier. I mean, it's a smaller thing, but you can mine it forever. And I'm very susceptible to that. And I think with G.I. Joes, I've been able to kind of live through it. Although I've said recently, and I don't know if I said it on this show and with what combination of hosts, but I've been able, I can basically do it. I can complete the G.I. Joe collection. It's possible. It's totally within my reach. And now I've totally slowed down and stopped organizing everything because I don't want to know what I have. You know, because I know that it's going to come out with I'm going to ultimately finish my spreadsheet that I've had going for years, that it's going to be like, okay, you're missing this, and this. Go get it. I mean, it's not like these things are impossible to find. And then it's like, okay, what's next? And I almost don't, I like having the incomplete piece of it, where it's not. That's what I really think, that the holiday season's when I'm going to finally get going on this and just figure out what I have at the very least. But a
lot of people
there's
do
a piece
that,
of it
right?
too where I'm sorry, Dick?
A lot of people do that, right? That they'll leave those 2 or 3 Grail pieces just so they can't finish the collection. So there's always something to aspire to, even artificially. Yeah, which I think is interesting. A lot of toy collectors do that.
Yeah, I don't. It's like the
fear of being
culmination of everything I wanted as a kid. I can't believe it. It's what you were saying about your stuff, Matty. Like, everything's within reach. You can get whatever you want. All the toys you always wanted, all the games you always wanted. Like, you're an adult with your own disposable income, and it's like, go get it. And there's something fulfilling about that, but there's also something that I don't want to fulfill that, because that's part of the nostalgia and that's part of the feeling. By the way, do you have a poster of Zero behind you?
Yeah, I gotta hang them up. It's Zero, which is
oh, that is Zero.
Yeah.
Oh, and X
from V1 Tech.
That's sick.
Well, those are the ones that Ebontis and them, we were together at GCX, and I think he told me, he called you about those.
What?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Those are
Wow.
fantastic.
And it's funny you point those out, because they, like, to me, you talk about not being done. I think one of my strongest attachments to the past is Mega Man, and it's really weird.
I don't think I really knew that about. I know you loved it, but I didn't know you loved it like I loved it.
It's funny because like you love it in a different way. Like you play and beat them a lot. Like for me, when I think Mega Man, I feel it's funny, right? Because this is like a grueling series overall. Like there's just difficulty, everyone's ups and downs in quality, but it's a very comforting series. Like more than anything, like people probably think of like Fallout, Star Wars for me. It's like really, it's like if you see like my Discord's linked to my PlayStation, if you see I'm playing Mega Man, I'm probably like trying to comfort myself. Like that's probably what's happening. And it's like, I haven't beat all the X games. I haven't beat all the Zero games. I haven't played Legends 1 or 2. I really love Battle Network, and I've played all those. But like the reality, like what you're talking about with G.I. Joe is how I feel about Mega Man. I'm like, I love leaving them undone, because it's like something when I kind of need to be in that comfortable spot, it has to be not done. And there'll be a time I want to finish them all, and that'll be that. But I like kind of leaving them there and open-ended. Like my excuse in my head is like, oh, I want to do a video one day, so I'm going to save all these fucking Mega Man games, even though I could easily, like, you could bang out a Mega Man game in a couple hours if you know all the weaknesses for the stages. But it's just funny you point them out, because it's like that's how I feel about what you feel with G.I. Joe, is like that sense of leaving it incomplete. Like I always say, one of my favorite games growing up that I never beat, and I feel like we all have that game like that. Like, oh man, that was so good, just never beat it, because like for me, I just didn't have the means, so it kind of worked out that way. But it was Mega Man X Command Mission, like the turn-based Mega Man RPG. Like,
yeah,
to me, that is one of the coolest fucking things that's ever existed, because it's like Final Fantasy X meets Mega Man. It's a great game. I got really far in it, but I've never finished it. And like, there's this sense of comfort in that it's not done. I that's definitely like on one of the higher points on my retro rebound list of like a game I want to make a video on. But beyond that, it's like it's so funny to hear you say that about the G.I. Joe collection. It's like one day I'm gonna do it. Like one day I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna commit. but like now I don't really, that's not really that time. And like I want to leave Mega Man undone, but I love it so much. So it's weird because it doesn't come from like, man, I remember playing the games a ton, but I don't remember like beating them because most of them I haven't beat.
Is X your favorite iteration?
Yeah.
I would assume.
Yeah, X is the series I've beat the most games from.
Talk to me about like a favorite Maverick or two of yours. I always love to see who people are attracted to in these games.
As in like the bosses that you'd fight?
The bad guys.
Oh, because you know what's funny is there was like kid me, like I started with X8, funny enough. Like I started
X8,
all the way at
poor
the
child.
And then I picked up X, I think Maverick Hunter X is what it was called on the PSP.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's my favorite one. I love the original X. I think of Vile because I had his action figure growing up.
Yeah,
like
he's awesome.
I wouldn't say he was like he's an easy pick, but like I do think of him because he was a pain in the ass in X8 as a kid. Otherwise, I think of this is I don't know if he's actually considered a Maverick. It's kind of a spoiler though. It's like one of the things I do know about X Command Mission, but I think is Spider. He is a fucking cool ass character to me, and like that story is legitimately great. That's why I want to go back and finish it. I'm like, it's really good. Like there's a lot of twists and turns, and so that's another one that comes to mind. But from the X series, I think am I remembering the name right? Is Boomerang Kwanger? Is that one of them?
Yeah, Boomer Kwanger. Yeah,
that's one that comes to mind.
Yeah, he's cool.
Because I remember playing at my brother's baseball tournament, and like that was a boss that I was stuck on forever. And I don't know if you had it like growing up with Mega Man, Colin. You have that moment your brain just flips on. You're like, oh, I'm just fucking steamrolling this game now. And like that was the boss I felt it on. I was like, that motherfucker is giving me so much trouble, and I just waxed his ass. So like that's one that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, I think what's his weakness? Sting Chameleon,
I think.
Yeah, weapon. Yeah. It's so funny because I love that Mega Man X 1, 2, 3, and 4 to a degree with like Magma, Dragoon, and these other ones. There's really cool designs in there, but the first Mega Man X game just has such an awesome slate.
Game.
I don't know how they haven't just done a full remake.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah. That game is totally you're absolutely right, Dagan. It is a masterpiece, and I'm very nostalgic about that game with you because you and I played it together.
I remember that. It was yesterday.
Maine. Yeah, and it was revolutionary way to play Mega Man with backtracking and optional items, and
that's why I loved it, because the classic Mega Man never spoke to me because I like collecting the armor pieces and the buster pieces, and that was, I think it just works. I've always loved RPGs, so I love progression in games, and to bring that into Mega Man, it was like sold completely.
Yeah, totally, man. The Dr. Light, there's something very nostalgic even at that time about finding the Dr. Light capsules, and he's talking to you about.
Have you played this? I know we're going off topic. Have you played the Zero games before though?
The Mega Man Zero.
Yeah. Like the Game Boy Advance games that got ported.
I played 2 of them, but not to completion.
To me,
and I have the collection, but I didn't.
Those games are Mega Man Zero is probably the hardest game I ever played, straight up. But
yeah, because it's ZX, right?
Yeah, there's Z, and the ZX is the DS series.
Right. Okay, that's
my understanding. But
right,
I say all that because Zero, its story is sad. I think like the ending. If you've played the X games and like a big theme is like X being tired of war. If you play Zero, the first one, just to completion, it is in my opinion, a very somber ending on like how he reflects on X, and like because like the game series takes place many generations in the future now, and like X is retired and gone, and like he has this speech that's just like I think really powerful if you're a Mega Man fan. It's like definitely worth seeing. And so that was like probably one of my favorite, if not my all-time favorite Mega Man story. Like it was just. Like just the way it was done so tactfully, like chef's kiss.
Yeah, those games came out, I believe, when I was in college. So I played whatever ones I wrote the guides for, as I recall. But because I think there are in the new collection Capcom released, I think there were 4 total in that whole series, right? Or a
total of 6 games. I could
6
grab it
maybe continuity. Yeah, I definitely didn't play more than 1 or 2 of those. It's funny, man, because my love of Mega Man, and we did it on Sacred Symbols, I think last week on the air. But when I was telling Dustin, because he's in Japan as of the time we're recording this,
he's got some
and one of my favorite things about going there, really the ultimate thing is like going and getting cool stuff that you can find in Akihabara and elsewhere. And he's traveling much more widely than I ever traveled there. And I was like, that you need to keep an eye out for classic Mega Man stuff. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you understand the difference between classic Mega Man X, Battle Network, Volnut, Star Force, like all these different things.
So
Like
many
I only
renditions.
care about classic Mega Man in this regard. But anything you see that like is from that particular franchise, you got to let me know. And he's like, yeah, I understand completely. Because like I people are very cute out there, and I appreciate them, but they always send me like, oh, Colin, you'd love this, you'd love this, and I'm like, it's X.
Yeah,
it's always the guy behind Matty right now, and that's a different character.
Yes.
So, and I love Mega Man X, but really only X1,
Me
X2,
too.
and X3, the SNES trilogy, absolutely sublime.
Essential.
Sublime. And even X4 and X5, I think were decent. They fell prey to the 2.5D and all this.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that happened to Mega Man 11, and Mega Man 11 was good, but you don't have to mess around with this. It doesn't need to be like this. You can just do it the old way.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried X7?
Yeah, X7 and X8 I think are the ones I didn't play.
I think X8 is legitimately good, but X7, man, holy shit. The voice acting that game is like, I don't know if there is a word in the dictionary to break down how fucking terrible it is. Like, it's not just emotionless. Like, there's line after line, delivery after delivery. Like, Mega Man's a straight bitch in this game. Like, the bosses you fight are psychotic. It's horrible, bro.
It's like Mega Man 8, right? It's like the next
I never
thing
played that
Mega-
one. So,
oh yeah, dude, you'll appreciate that too. It's probably in the
same thing
vein where it was clearly done in one take with Japanese people that spoke English. So it's hysterical.
It's classic.
The Mega Man 8's intro is and interstitials are notorious. You'll love them. So definitely take note of that. One of the things that was said that I thought I would touch on too is, and I think it was Cog that you said this was music.
Yeah.
Deeply nostalgic. And for some reason, I don't know, it's very weird. I listen to music. I have this master playlist. I don't do these like sub playlists, like I'm feeling good, I'm feeling bad, it's just this one playlist of thousands of songs. And I just go through it. And often I just like skip through 5 songs before I find what I really want to listen to. But it's just like everything I'd probably want to listen to at some point. And I do it often when I'm working out and I do like an hour of cardio or whatever. And a song will come on and it will just snap a specific memory of something I didn't even think of, or a feeling. Specific records do this to me in the 1999, 2000, 2001 era for me, which that was like mid to late high school. And so that really does transport me. And I listen to this guy on YouTube who's awesome, Rick Beato. I bring him up sometimes. And he was saying recently that, to the point about modernity and not listening to radio and the difficulty in licensing and all of this, that he's like, the music that you take for granted is going to die. Like you think that everyone knows Soundgarden's Black Hole Sun, right? And like of course everyone knows Sound, but there's going to be a generation that doesn't know that song, and then their kids won't know it, and then their kids won't know it. And it's just, everything kind of really does stick within these specific parameters of generational parameters, especially because things are so expensive to license and people don't want to spread them around and they don't embrace whatever will keep them alive forever. And it's something that we kind of just have to accept. And Cog, one of the things that I found really useful for the brief time when we found Kind of Funny and then had an office where we worked, so this was like a year of time or even less for me, I would take Ubers everywhere. And I would go to work and then go home and whatever. And I was always listening to the radio that was on in the car. And for that brief amount of time, I did find 20 or 30 songs from just different. I'm very eclectic with my music, so I love everything, like pop and hip hop and whatever, country, like it's all good to me. And so that's a good way to just being force exposure to it. Because otherwise I listen to the same things over and over again. My playlist probably doesn't have almost anything on it from after 2010 or 2005. Maybe 90% of it is before that. So I totally feel what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's apparently like a common thing. People make fun of that. You realize you're becoming your parents in some literal ways.
That's like my parents' thing is I mix the dogs' names up constantly. I like say like 3-4 different names and then I spit out the right name. I'm like, I was talking to him lately about it. I was like, holy fuck, man. I said, I'm 28. Like, this can't be happening. I was like, this can't be happening. I'm like, for Rufus, like, you know, I'm like, finally got it. Come on, brain.
It gets worse, Matty. You'll be mixing the pets' names with the kids' names. That's when you know. That's when you fully become the parent. Because I remember making fun of my mom for that. Now it's full on. I have become her.
I did the same thing. I teased my mom constantly about it. I'm like, how far are we fallen?
Oh my God.
Matty, are you satisfied?
I am. Thank you, gents.
All right, then, Matty, we move on from you to Lord Cognito.
Yo.
I'd like to hear from you this week, my friend.
Yes, I got to bring the mood down.
That's
It's too
all right.
much fun. It's too much happiness going on in here. Got to bring it down. So look, I wanted to talk about it because obviously near-death experiences. And, you know, obviously it has affected me recently with, you know, obviously my hospital experience. But I did think about another time. And I don't know who brought up, I think it was Dagan and Colin, you guys brought up someone, a family member recently, almost had like a scary kind of car accident kind of thing. And I remember briefly, you know, this is like my first car was used. It was like a 99 4Runner. I was so proud of this little truck. I was like, yeah, it's my, you know, first little car and stuff. And I learned a lesson about, you know, being cheap. And I remember like, bro, tires mad expensive back in the day. Like you get a flat or whatever. So I remember, you know, this is young cog, first job, not making too much money. You know, the worst thing that can happen to you at that time is a check engine light or the tire. So I was just like, man, and I remember seeing that tire and I was like, all right. And I go to like some local place and I was like, how much, you know, for this specific tire? And, you know, it was a lot. I couldn't afford it. And I was just like, well, he was like, well, you could get it patched. So I was like, all right, cool. Not realizing that, yeah, eventually you still got to change that tire. You can't be running with a patch for months and months and months and months thinking. So, yeah, I learned a very painful lesson. It was like, you know, it's a Saturday night, cog is in club mode. It's late. You come out from the club, you know, maybe a little nice, a little more nicer than I should have been. But, you know, it's a straight shot on the West Side Highway home from Manhattan into the Bronx. I'm like, man, I got this. So it just so happened that night. Shut up, man. I know that. Young Cog was wild.
Just because I have a friend who said the same shit.
Yeah, you know, it's always, bro.
It always starts the same. I got
you living reckless, right? And I remember it was one of those, you know, you come out and like rain starts to happen or a thunderstorm. But this was one of those where you hear the thunder, boom, and it's just like tropical rainforest to the part where you have your wipers on max and you're barely seeing. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So I'm like, just go slow, you good. West Side Highway, it's late, maybe past midnight, 1 a.m., driving back from the club. And I remember, just go slow. You're going to be hot. You're going to be like, just, you know. And all I remember, maybe going 40, 50. All I hear was, boom, back right where that damn tire was. I start to fishtail, right? So now I'm going to Uptown. The median is there. I literally do like a 360, bang into the median, then 360, bang out. And I'm now I'm facing the opposite way of traffic and I'm going into an exit ramp. Ooh. And I'm like, hey, yo, like it just happened. So, and I literally missed a car that was like trying to get away from me. That was like, we were parallel. He seen what was going on. He got away. Luckily I didn't hit him. And I'm like on an exit ramp facing the wrong way. And my heart's all over the place. And I'm like, yo, this could have been it right here, bro. Like this was the one. And, you know, I called a friend of mine who at the time lived not too far, closest proximity, who would be up. I was like, yo, you know, I had into a car accident, you know, he said, don't worry about it, you know, call whatever. And I think I couldn't get it to get towed or whatever, but I had to leave the truck there for a while and then, you know, end up, you know, getting the situation get resolved. But that was one. So, you know, and obviously, the second one is obviously what happened to me recently. For those, you know, who don't know, obviously, new strand of COVID. You know, I didn't know what was going on with me. I started to really rapidly deteriorate. Come to find out, it was three things. It was COVID, it was pneumonia, and it was bringing back a pre-existing condition. So with all this being said, you know, when I'm in the hospital and you're struggling with breathing, right? You're struggling. You're just like, man, like, and there's this moment where your mortality flashes before your eyes. And you're like, am I going to make this? Like, I am not doing well. Like, they got to put me on oxygen. And, you know, I think the reality hit, Matty, when I told the story on Duke to you and Gene, which is, you know, after I do eventually make the turnaround, it's, you know, there's an emotional roller coaster. You know, you go from feeling sorry for yourself, like, how am I in this situation? Is this how I'm going to go out? Like, is this, you know, everything. And then I think there's also a fight or flight moment, which is like, you know, do you get in a depressed state and say, okay, there's nothing I can do? Do you want to try to fight to survive? And, you know, in my case, the worst thing you could do is, like we talk, Matty, is like being claustrophobic, being where you can't breathe, you know. And I'm like fighting with the docs, like, yo, whatever, all these tests you're doing, just don't lay me flat. Don't lay me flat. It's harder for me to breathe that way. And then it's like, yo, do I trust these people? If something happens to me, who's going to find out? And then the hospital fee, like, it's just, anyway, back to my main point, which is, I do feel these near death experiences change you. And I do feel, you know, how you react, you know, it's still going to scar you. You're always going to remember certain things are going to trigger it, right? And you're just going to be like, man, I remember when that happened. So for me, you know, it did change me. It did change me completely. I remember, Matty, when obviously we you know, not too far after I was released from the hospital, I was cleared, you know, I remember we had the, you know, the Forza event, right? And I remember seeing you guys. And if you remember, the hugs were tighter.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything now is like, yo, I got a second lease on life. You gotta, you know, you gotta do things. And especially with the head doctor coming out to me and literally telling me, and which I texted you, Colin, which was like, yo, like, if you weren't a healthy guy, you were not, so you would have died. Like,
wow.
And that's when, you know, the tears roll down, right? So I guess I'm saying all this to say, like, you know, obviously in my case, it's definitely an appreciation. I'm very fortunate. I'm very humbled, you know, to survive a lot of situations that I've had in my past. But my question to you, why I bring it up, is as far as near death, is one, have you guys experienced any, right? And then if you have, you know, what was the mentality going on? How did you process, you know, during and post experience? And actually, I'm Colin. I'm curious with you. I'm curious with you if you've encountered any kind of near death experience.
Yeah, like, I don't think I should trivialize it by saying that I have. I think there have been like some close calls or things where it's like, well, I could have fucking ate shit there, or, you know, fallen or whatever. And I've eaten shit and all that, but I don't think I've ever been close to dying, you know. So it's not, maybe I have been and I didn't know. I mean, I always think about that kind of stuff, being in the wrong place, wrong time and all that, but nothing for me. I always think about, when people bring this topic up, I always think about our mother, just because she had two, basically. Wow. One when she was a kid and one when she was an adult with, I don't even know. Dave, do you know what it was called that she had when she was a kid? She had like some rare disease where she was.
I always forget the name. So I had to text her before the show because I knew we would talk about it. It was it was a rare cancer, which turned out to be benign, but she was so young. It was called, and I think it was in the time, it was 61 or 62. She was 11 or 12. She was only the 54th case in the world with this thing. Wow. It was called a pheochromocytoma, which is like an abdominal or a stomach sort of cancer, which turned out to be benign. But I think she had the complications due to having to have the surgeries. I think it was multiple surgeries. In one case, she actually died on the operating table briefly. And
wow.
Yeah. That's why I bring up, is that because she talks about having like seen the light and stuff like that. That's like her experience, which is interesting, but I'd let her speak about that herself. And then as an adult, she got into a catastrophic motorcycle accident, actually, where she almost died.
I always forget about that.
And that happened in 92, I guess, something like that. Yep. And she almost lost her leg, and she destroyed her pelvis, and like was really almost died. So yeah, she had two. So I always think about her when this topic comes up. But I've been, you know, I've said this in the past, and I hate it. I don't try to believe that there's such a thing truly as fate or anything like that. We'll get to that in my topic later. But like, I really don't believe in it. So I hope I'm not tempting fate by saying this, but just acknowledging that I feel like I've been inoculated in some way so far. It's not permanent. It can't be permanent, from like seriousness within my own, like serious illness in my own life, whether from me or for someone that I care about in a long time, you know. And you almost feel like you're just like running these crazy dice rolls where something's got to happen to someone at some point. So you almost feel like you're 38 years old, and kind of afraid of what's to come, but thankful that I've not had a situation like yours, or like we were describing earlier with my, like if I got into that situation that our stepfather got into and saw his car and stuff, I'd be like, well, that would be a near-death experience. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But I've never been in something like that. So yeah, that's my answer.
Oh, good. I guess let's get Matty. Get Matty on this. I'm curious.
It's funny. This is a really good topic because I think I'm okay. So I think I'm kind of like Colin, where I don't know if I've had a direct skim. I've been told like I had appendicitis, and which pretty common. It's still super unpleasant, but like nothing you hear and you're like, oh shit, what is that? Like, what do we do? I had to get surgery, but when I learned I had it, like it was so close to bursting that they were saying like that could have killed you. So I was young at the time, though. I mean, I was junior in high school. I was like, oh shit, I think we got rid of that then. Like I remember being kind of like unaffected by it when I heard that, and I think it's because at that age, you're living, right? It kind of good thing we got into nostalgia first, right? You haven't experienced so much to look back on and be like thinking of and reflecting on. So what really I think of, I have one funny story, but I'll start with the serious one. I had this girl who was like one of my best friends growing up. We're not as close now at all, but her little brother is still to this day like one of my best friends. I always say he's the little brother I never had, and he had a liver disease since he was 7, I want to say, and as the the older brother figure in his life, like I'll always remember I was sitting in my bedroom and I was playing video games as I always would, and I see my bedroom door fly open and it's him, and he's hysterically crying, and like first of all, I'm like, how'd you get in here? And my mom comes in afterwards and she's like, he has to get an emergency surgery to remove his liver, and he's in hysterics. He's like, I'm scared I'm gonna die. This kid's so young, and I'm a teenager, and I'm like hugging him. I would start crying because I'm just like, this is like my little brother, man. Like this is, I knew he was going through it, but like something serious that like he was yellow, like, people who know about liver disease and whatnot, like, it was scary. And he too died on the operating table. They brought him back. And, it was like those are like some of the defining moments where like I didn't have a near death experience, but you see the mortality of someone, especially a kid so innocent and so young, flash before your eyes, and someone you care about deeply, and the family who you have a great relationship with. And it was like, that was like one of those moments. I'm like, wow, you count your blessings, right? Like you look like I even at that age, I was 16, I think. And I was like, I'm very lucky to have lived 16 relatively healthy years outside of the appendicitis. And it's moments like those. And then there are those kind of like, you look back and you laugh at it type of moments, to bring up the spirits here. You look back and you laugh at it type of moments where you're like, damn, you could have crossed me off the list right there if something went wrong. So I was in QuakeCon in 2018, in Texas, and I was there with the kid who got his liver removed. So he traveled with us, and he's doing great now. And then I was there with my other best friend, and we went to the event together, and we were like, okay, let's take an Uber back to the hotel, and we'll get some food afterwards. We like had this rib restaurant right next to the hotel, so we were just gonna walk there afterwards. And this dude, I don't know what the fuck happened to this Uber driver, bro. This guy was going 90. He was playing GTA. He was going 90, like in and out of lanes. This dude's phone, like he had the CarPlay thing, and you just kept seeing like ignoring calls, just almost slamming his line. There's this big fucking trash bag in the heart of the lane, and this guy's going 90 straight out. I'm like, yo, like this, if he hits this and it fucks the wheel, we're tumbling. Fortunately, he just breezes right through it. You just hear a loud explosion, and explosion is probably a dramatic word. Like you hear a loud boom, the bag popped, and that was it. But like when he gets in, like we get out, he just speeds away again. I'm like, Yo, like we're like one bad turn. Like he would ride at 70 and like hit the brakes last minute. Like it was bad, right? I'm sure everyone has their own bad Uber driver experience. And we, afterwards, like we're like cracking up. We're like, yo, that guy, someone who the fuck was calling him so much? There were so many unanswered questions to this Uber ride. Like, why were we going? So why did you pick us up if you had to get out that quick, bro? Did you need like $15 that? I would have given it to you and been like, go take care of what you got to take care of. But like, that was another one where it wasn't like near death, if you will. But like, it was one bad turn from death, 100%. And then the other one, just sticking with a funny one, is you think of luck is why I bring it up. I think I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. Playing ding dong ditch as you would in middle school. It was Halloween night, and I remember we like slammed the fucking door of this one place and ran down the road. We see, we're hiding out. No one really answers. I'm like, damn, that sucks. Let's go fuck with someone else.
Mess with them again.
So yeah, we start like walking down the road, and I hear this car like beep beep, like you hear it just unlock, and everyone else is like walking, talking, whatever. I connect the dots. I'm like, the fucking dude's coming for us right now. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. He saw us and was like, I'm going to go say something to them. So naturally, we don't want to get in trouble, but no one notices. And I'm like, guys, like, I just heard a car unlock. Like, and I remember clear as day. They were like, so I'm like, he's definitely coming for us. Like, no, he's not, bro. Like, we saw, like, he didn't answer the door. I'm like, I'm telling you. And like, I hear the car start. I'm like, I'm telling you, we got to run now. And so thank God they listened to me, bro, because we run and you hear this dude speeding down the road. And there's this, like, as if it's from a movie, this little cutout leading into someone's backyard that just in an unlikely space, this alleyway we could just all dive into. And I remember like doing the fucking Black Ops 1 dolphin dive out into this patch of grass. And this dude whips it around the corner. And I'm just like, yo, if no one listened to me, and if we were like not even five, if we were like half a second early or late, he would have hit all of us 100%. So I just think about those moments where it's like, I've had my encounters with illnesses.
That is a near-death experience.
That counts.
Okay, that counts. So I've had these encounters where I think of my own mortality, and as I one of the reasons I had anxiety in the first place is like, as I was getting older, like I had these moments where I thought I had something. Thank God it turned out nothing. Like I had an irregular heartbeat. I'm like, oh, this means a lot of awful things if you Google it. And they're like, no, you got sinus bradycardia. It's this, you're in really good shape. So your heart just beats when it wants to beat. It doesn't beat just consistently. It's just like, it'll go like, just because that's what my body needed at that time. It's really strange. But they're like, yeah, a lot of athletes get it. I'm like, okay, cool. But for a while, there's like this overwhelming feeling of like, yo, I remember like, I think Fallout 4 was about to come out. I was like 18 right now, man. I'm about to have a heart disease or something like that. Like, what's going on? I'm freaking out.
Dude, internet, you can't. I just stopped doing the web editing stuff.
Yeah, but I was young. I didn't know that. That was my first time, I think, really doing that.
Dude, I had AIDS so many times. Don't worry.
Bro, it always like thinking it's the worst stuff.
Yeah. So I don't want to go on too long, but yeah, like I have encounters or near misses or seeing other people's mortality, and I guess the nostalgia kind of plays into it in a sense where Coggy, I think it's not the first time someone said I have an old soul where like, I try to very much cherish the moment I'm in because of that stuff. Like I don't know if it's a very existential line of thinking, but like when I spent time with my grandma before she passed away, like the years and years before that, like before she was ever sick, before anything ever went on, I was always like, it was like 8-10 years before. And I'm like, well, this could be one of the last times. So like, let's have like, let me like really enjoy this. Cause like, the kid in you at times is like, man, like I want to go play games or I want to go be doing this and that. And I'm like, well, my Mimi's the shit. Like she deserves this and more. Like, you know what? We gotta like, let's enjoy this because who knows how many more Christmases, Thanksgivings we have together. And this is important. Right. And I'm happy I realized that at a young age because I have no regrets.
Dope.
I encourage that to a lot of people like who are listening, like, just while it's important to be fond of the past, really involve yourself in that moment with the people you love because you don't want to look back and like I will say, and I don't know if this is oversharing, but like I had another grandma who was like very toxic. Like she was very much like about the bloodline. So like I was treated really well with my brother, who's like technically my stepbrother. Like he was not from the same dad. And so he was treated very differently from me by this grandmother. And it was kind of uncomfortable. And I didn't like her because of that. But as she got older, she got nicer. And there were moments I'm like, nah, like, you don't treat my mom well. You don't treat my brother well. I don't want anything to do with you. And when she started to get dementia, you started to see the nice parts of her come out. She started to forget that crap, right?
Mm.
You start to wonder, like, what if I sat down? Because I was old enough. Like, what if I sat down for a conversation or two more? And that's not a good feeling. I wouldn't say it's regret, but like it's not a good feeling. To wonder what those extra conversations would be, or my cousin Elsie and Uncle George are another example. Is like, I was just too young to have meaningful conversations with them, and then when they passed was right when I was old enough to have those.
Yeah.
And so it's those moments that I think define us, right? Like you said, Cog, like the near death, or really just the mortality of humans, where it's like, okay, I didn't get that chance with my cousin Elsie as often as I would have liked. Like she loved talking sports. I got into sports late. I was too young. She didn't mind. It's not like it was anything crazy, but now seeing that, it's like, okay, these new relationships I foster, like with you guys, it's like, okay, like, how do you cultivate that, make it meaningful, create good memories, and leave no regrets behind? So it's funny how you bring that up and it connects to that. But yeah, that's my run-in with near death.
Sleeves Dag.
You know what? It's funny, man. I think about this a lot, and we were joking, I think last week, that I'll be an antique late this year, right? I'm turning 50. And I gotta tell you, man, a lot of it's just like, shoot me now type thing. Like, and it's the number. It's the number. It's not how I feel. It's not anything in my life. It's just, I never thought, I kind of half joke when I say this, but I thought I would go out in a blaze of glory before I ever turned 50. Like, this wasn't supposed to, I don't feel like Dagan Moriarty is supposed to be 50 years old. It's just that I feel like I'm built for this. I felt the same thing turning 20. So it's just like that sort of, I guess, kind of Peter Pan thing going on, which just seems to be like a common recurring theme with me. But I think about death a lot. Not that I'm fixated on it in a negative way, but I think I'm at that age now where my parents are getting older, and my parents are actually doing really good for their age. But it's more so with Helene's parents, who are a little older than, our parents. But I could see in them, and they're like, I've known them for almost 30 years. They're like my other mom and dad. I love them so much, but I could see now at their age, they're kind of limited. They're limited to what they could do. It's the kind of the first time in our lives where they'll take a flyer on going to an event, or we're going to go down the shore. Oh, we're not going to go. Dad's not feeling good. That type of thing, where I could see that change now, ushering in just by not only their ailments, but just by generally the way they feel, and like they can't do as much. They're not in, they were almost my age when I met them. When I first met them, they were in their early 50s. So it's a big difference between then and now. So I think that's why I think about it a lot. But I think in near-death experiences for me, it's fun. It's funny. I haven't really had any, but I think back to, just growing up and being young and the different hijinks that ensued and the different things we've gone through. Like, I've been mugged at knife point. Ooh. I've had guns pulled on me in a group setting. I remember one time I was in a road rage situation with my then very good friend who I was living with in South Philly, and his girlfriend. He was driving, and me and his girlfriend were passengers in the car. We were down in South Philadelphia. I don't know what my friend did to piss off the other driver, but it got into this situation where he pulled alongside of us and flashed his gun. And I remember my feeling of, shit, like there's got to be a way out of this. Like, not afraid for my life, but more. And it wasn't, don't get me wrong, it wasn't courage. It was kind of like this feeling of recklessness even, but this feeling of immortality. It was just really stupidity, like, oh, this is kind of an adventure. And I remember being in that mindset of, all right, this is going to hurt. Not I'm going to be killed, but really more thinking of, oh, come on, there's got to be some kind of way out of this. Think, you know? And I don't know if that feeling, again, of being young and being a little more brash and that immortality thing, it certainly wasn't toughness in my situation. It was more like treating it like it was a story to be told later. It was the weirdest thing. Like I never even thought of being killed, you know, and you don't back then. I don't know if that came from us specifically of skateboarding for so many years and hucking ourselves down huge drops and stairs and handrails and like getting hurt and possibly dying was kind of not something you dwelled on, but it was certainly part of the equation. Like we just kind of dealt with that every day, especially when we started to get good enough, when we start, you know, especially a lot of the friends who I was around who were, you know, sponsored amateur skateboarders. And later on, I would meet a lot of pros and the things they put themselves through. I don't know if that was part of the mentality of just turning your brain off to that side of things. But I definitely, as you guys talked, I was laughing to myself because I'd been in situations that were certainly perilous, but most of those happened when I was young enough to just kind of shrug it off for whatever reason. And again, I just chalk that up to stupidity. But what I love about, this is the one thing I love about our mom's near-death experience story, because it's so scary. And it's a story that I was sort of familiar with even as a little kid, because she would tell us, you know, when I was 11, 12, I was a preteen and I went through this thing, which was a really harrowing experience for not only her, but my grandparents and my mom's great-grandparents. They all lived together. So it was this huge trial that the family went through, you know, in 61, 62, when my mom was very, very sick and really on the verge of dying. The crazy thing about the story is, I bet there's a lot of people out there, and I probably would be the same way. You think of that typical near-death experience story, right? You think of the warm white light. Everybody kind of talks about the same thing. You're enveloped with this light and this warmth and this feeling of peace, and you're slowly drifting to this amorphous sort of indescribable light. But it's definitely a thing. It's definitely a feeling of letting go and going somewhere better, whatever that it is, heaven or whatever it is. But you're moving on, and there's this, you always hear the same thing in movies, TV, and books. It's always the same thing, where it almost feels like it could be a thing that people are just calling up, even maybe subconsciously, because they've seen it in movies for so many years. But here's the crazy thing about it is, our mom was so young, and it was so many years ago, that she couldn't have possibly been brainwashed by that vision, right? That was a real, authentic thing that happened to her. She wasn't calling that up because she saw it in some film, you know, not at that age, not in the early 60s. So I love kind of the thing that could be a real thing. And what is it? You know, the mystery. We talk about this a lot when Colin and I talk about religion on the various podcasts and stuff, but like Dagan is built on hope. You know, the idea of there being nothing after life, the concept of oblivion, I can't with that. It's just, I'm not built to withstand something like that. I think the realistic side of me probably has to acknowledge that could be a very real possibility, you know, that there's just nothing after this. But for me, that's just too pessimistic. I like the optimism of hoping for something after, seeing our loved ones again. You know what I mean? So my mom's story, as I got old enough to realize, sort of the thing that dawned on me with the whole thing is, wow, that is a real thing. It's not just something you hear in fiction. It's not just something that everybody recounts in this way of like, I don't know, don't you have something more creative? Everybody sees the white light. It's this thing of like, there is something beyond, there's something spiritual, there's this thing waiting. And that near death experience thing is, you're not seeing the whole thing because now you're coming back. She had that experience on the operating table briefly. They brought her back, and, you know, she came to, and so it was what everybody relates when that happens. Your heart, you know, stops briefly and all that kind of thing. I kind of dig that. For me, it's that paints that really crazy question mark of, there's something to this. There's something to this. It's not everybody just relating it in the same old tired fashion, which is, you know, for me, kind of a neat thing. The other thing we talked about, I think, on one of our episodes of Constellation, and it just happened to me 2 nights ago. And it kind of, for me, this sort of ties into that near-death experience thing and the mysteries of what could possibly happen and the spirituality, that, what could occur after death. But I do have these dreams from time to time. I've definitely talked about this before, where people that I miss, whether it's one of my grandparents or now my best friend's parents who have both passed away, people that I just miss on like a weekly basis, it always pops into my head, oh, I wish they were still around, those type of people. And I have probably a half dozen of those people that I wish were still here. And once in a blue moon, I dream about them, but it's not a dream where they're just part of the story. It feels like in these rare instances that they're appearing to me, that they're telling me something, that they're acknowledging that I miss them. Maybe it's an I miss you too thing. I don't know. But I had a dream about my best friend's mom, who passed away, I guess we're going on 10 years probably now. And she was like another mother to me. I mean, I loved her so dearly, and I miss her because she was just a friend. She was just one of my best friends. And the other night I had a dream, and I don't remember the context of the dream. I remember a lot of people being there. And first it was his dad, who passed away more recently, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago now. And he gave me a hug. His dad gave me a hug in the dream. And then I turned around and she was there. And she gave me this really warm, tight hug and kissed me on both cheeks and told me not to worry, like it's going to be okay. I don't even know what she was consoling me about. Again, I don't remember the context. But I was happy, and I felt that sort of that sadness in the dream. And I woke up and tears were streaming down both sides of my face. And it happened to be early in the morning. Now I sleep in pretty late because the family's all gone at 6:30. I'm always bragging about that. It was like 9:15 in the morning. And I'm trying to come to, and I'm trying to go back and think about exactly what the context of the dream is, because I'm so sad that I'm actually crying real tears. And there's a knock at my front door, and it's our contractor coming to finish the project he's working on, which I forgot he was going to show up. So now not only am I waking up embarrassed at 9:15, but my eyes are bloodshot and I'm crying, and my face is drenched with tears. So I pull on my baseball cap really low, and I answer the door, and I'm trying to make it look like I'm awake. I'm not. I'm still half asleep. I'm also crying my eyes out, right? And this whole thing turned into this comedy thing of me trying not to look like an idiot with my contractor coming in the house. And then I text my best friend later, and I'm like, dude, this whole thing happened. I break down the entire thing for him. And this is so PJ. He's just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you're sleeping in the 9:15. That was his response to the entire thing. And that's why we have to get him on the show, because he's ridiculous. Like, that was his entire response to the whole thing. But that's another thing where, again, though, like, I have so many questions about, I mean, we all do, right? Yeah. That's the craziest human curse. It's like, we have no idea, and we're never going to know. And by the time we know, we're never going to be able to pass on the information, because now we're gone. It's this crazy Shakespearean irony just built into life, which I think is so intriguing. But that's another thing. And, maybe I'm reading too deeply into it, and maybe it just plays into too much of my optimism. But that's another thing for me of like, maybe there is something. Maybe there is something that's, beyond our explanation that exists. That white light, people visit, loved ones visiting you in dreams. So maybe there is a little something. I don't want to die to find out. I'm not. That's the other thing. Like, none of us want to. We're all going there, but none of us want to. It's the other big irony in life. But that's what I always think about is, and I always think back to my mom's experience, because it's someone close to me that she couldn't have been dreaming that up. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so funny that everybody has the same sort of story. It almost reminds me of Colin and I talked recently about the alien, the typical alien that people encounter, whether they were abducted or they've seen something, the flying saucer, that very specific gray alien with the big head. Yeah. Oh, yeah, everybody has the same story. There's got to be something to that, right? There's something there that it's just, come on, like, why can't we just have more answers?
Turns out some Peruvians found it in a mine, couple aliens in a mine shaft. So we'll figure out, see if those are real or not. How do we feel on this topic? Are we satiated?
No, I'm good. I like the different, experiences, and Yeah, and Dagan, I definitely understand what you're saying with the fear of death and, the wanting the understanding of, if it's just finale and that's it, it's kind of depressing. So I know where you're going with it, because me and you share that optimistic side where the hope that there is something, because it's just so morbid, and I love life. So that's why, it's something that I do resonate with you on that part. But yes, I satiate it.
Yeah, it also leads
very
to the
good.
questioning of religion. Like I'm a Christian
Yeah.
guy, but like it leads to like, are those just there to provide comfort? Like
Right.
I'm always told like, oh, you go to heaven and like it's way better there than here. And I'm like, but I think here's pretty dope. Like, and I, as a believer, I'm still like, I struggle with that. I'm like, is it just there to comfort me? It brings a lot of questions in when you think about it too long.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, Matty, because that to me is like, well, let's just say if it is just a finale and it's the result that I don't want to hear, right? Where there's nothing, that's it. It's like, but if you look at past civilization, even Egyptians wrapping the bodies and doing these things for the hope, and even burying them with their wealth and stuff like that. So is it a situation where religion was created to comfort this fear that humans have because they don't want to accept that there may be nothing, right? And that's something I don't even want to deal with, but because it seems consistent with religion. That's one thing, even though everyone has their different views of God and what it is and all that stuff, there always usually is that afterlife or that promise of something. And that is always interesting to me. Are we doing this to comfort ourselves of not wanting to face that reality?
Makes sense.
I think that it's easy in my own mind to see where a more primitive human would be to be able to adopt religion very quickly once you have societies, small bands, I guess, and mystics and people that inherently understand the movement of the stars and the rhythms of nature, and it seems supernatural. And before you know it, I think that kind of stuff gets off the ground pretty quick. Because there's just people that have this forbidden knowledge.
Yeah, good stuff.
Anyway, good topic. All right, now I'll continue to bring it down here. I thought this was I said this on Sacred Symbols. I thought that you guys were the perfect combination of people for this when I was thinking of everyone that does the show on a regular basis, with the exception, Ramon would make sense on this episode too, because he's a sports fan, but we're kind of the fans of various sports in some permutation, touching almost every sport that I can imagine, really. Between the four of us, and then you have the likes of Dustin and Chris and others that aren't really into it. Mike is into sports too, but I don't know if Gene is a fan. He doesn't strike me as I've never seen him speak on sports before, but I guess I'll have to ask him more explicitly.
He wears a Strangers of Paradise cap, so I would imagine not like that to me.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
Like when he was in that era, I feel like that was a perfect time for a nice ball cap of some kind and like a sports team, and he was like, Strangers of Paradise, baby. So.
Yeah, Strangers of Paradise. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So I had a horrifying experience earlier this week, and I was curious what you guys as the sports fans thought about it, but I wanted to look at it specifically from the angle of why, if we can dissect why it is I care so much and why we would all care in this situation. And I'd also love to know like what you personally think about it from your perspective, the specific situation, and like how you would react if it happened to you. So I talked a little bit about this on Sacred Symbols because so many people wrote in. And in fact, someone wrote in on Sacred Symbols breaking down all of the people that wrote into us about this. And there was something like 75 comments were just about this topic that we got submitted.
Know where you go.
And it was so funny. There was a further breakdown about like this many were consolatory, this many were joking, this many were, it was very funny. And so I spoke on it for the audience, and there'll be some redundancy here, I'm sure, but I wanted to speak at it, and I promised I would in a deeper way. So this is me fulfilling that promise as well. As I think most people know, but to position it for people that don't outside of the United States or just not sports fans, whatever. And I say that not as any other reason than I assume this would actually seep into mainstream news and all the rest. But the New York Jets football team, my beloved New York Jets, lost their Hall of Fame quarterback after 4 snaps in the first game of his career with a devastating injury that will have him out for the rest of the year and could imperil his entire career. And this was unbelievable. And it was so unusual because I remarked on Sacred that I guess just over the years, and it makes sense. I used to when I would go to Comic-Con, I'd always wear an Islanders jersey or a Jets jersey in New York, right? In New York Comic-Con. And I'd always, you'd always see me when I was more on video at IGN, I'd always have like Jets gear on or a jersey or like an Islanders jersey on and all these different things. And I think over time, people have just come to associate these teams with me, especially the Jets, because people know that I'm mega serious about this team. And I have been not, and I've always said it's not been my whole life. I really became aware of the Jets in high school, and it's specifically the 1999 team. And I don't know, Cog, if you specifically remember that season.
Oh yeah.
But it's a weird parallel to this situation, and I'll explain why. But that team was a prolific team led by a quarterback named Vinny Testaverde, who was my original favorite Jet, and he was an awesome quarterback. And we had I wasn't really that cognizant of the Jets during the AFC Championship game against the Broncos. That was in 1998. It was through that I became a fan, because I was like, oh, the Jet, my friends were into it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll pay attention. And I'm going to become more. I always liked football, but I just never really chose a team. And it always kind of conflicted with hockey season, frankly, where I was just like, I don't have time for this. I have games every Sunday. I am never home it was not a thing. But as you get into high school and you start playing over the weekdays, and I don't know, things just kind of shifted around, and I became cognizant of football for the first time. Even at my high school level, I became a fan of, our team and my friends that were on the team, and would go and watch them and stuff. I came to love the sport, and that Vinny Testaverde year in 1999, off the AFC Championship loss to the Broncos, riding high. What happens in that game? In the second quarter, I think it was, Vinny Testaverde goes down with a season-ending leg injury, and the season is lost. And with the exception of the 2009 and 2010 Jets, which were good and were the last Jets teams to make the playoffs. So the Jets haven't even made the playoffs since 2010. And it's some people say it's kind of easy to make the playoffs, like stumble into the playoffs in the NFL, especially now that 7 teams per conference make it in. So we'll see if they can break their, snap their streak in the coming year or years. But other than that, 2009 and 2010 teams, and some interesting teams, 2004, 2005, 2015 was a pretty cool year with Fitzpatrick. We almost made the playoffs. We were 10-6. We should have made the playoffs, but we just missed out. And last year was an interesting year because we were 7-4 at one point, which was exciting until Zach Wilson did what he does and so well. And so this, I guess what I'm saying is, and I want, because I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say about what happened and your perspectives, but with all of that known about the Jets and my fandom with the Jets, and especially as I became what I would consider a Jets super fan when I was in college, I lived with a kid named Chris Godfrey down the hall from me my first year. I just talked to him recently. Actually, we were texting back and forth. And he was a good friend of mine from Long Island, and he was a mega fan, and he was the one that really, really got me into them, like at a major level. And so I've been at that level, like what I would consider the level now, for 20 years. Like, don't miss a game, read every day about them, listen to podcasts and radio shows back in the day and all of the rest. And so I'm like really invested in the team. And this was the first time in all of those years that I went into the season and was like, we could win the Super Bowl this year. Like, we could legitimately win the Super Bowl this year. It's not, usually it's an aspirational, like, we have a great defense, we can make the playoffs, make some noise. And we got so close in 2009 and 2010. We lost the AFC Championship game both years, and that was painful, especially the second one, because it's not, the windows in football are so short. You just can't stay there it's so hard to get that far. You just have so many things have to go right.
Mm-hmm.
We attracted a Hall of Fame level quarterback. And when I was explaining on Sacred Symbols to people that don't know, is it's within the realm of possibility that Aaron Rodgers is the single best quarterback ever in terms of physical, just raw ability and play. He's only won one Super Bowl, and he's been surrounded. The Packers were really the wrong place for him to go. They had so many opportunities for him to win, and they just didn't surround him sufficiently with, I think, appropriate weapons that other teams would have been happy to give him. I mean, imagine him on the Cowboys or something like that. Yeah. So he wanted out of there for a long time, and he's getting old. He's going to be 40 later this year, and that's like really pushing it. Usually by the time you're 40, you're done. I mean, there are quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan and others that are younger than him that are like completely washed out. No offense to them. They're my age. They just can't do it anymore. And Aaron Rodgers could, and we attracted him and we got him. And it was unbelievable. And he wanted us, and he wanted to be with us, and he loved being there. And he would, when you're a veteran and you're a star, you don't have to do certain things. You don't really have to show up to OTAs, and you can kind of just like slide into preseason late, and you're definitely not going to play in any games, and you probably won't even dress for the games. And But he went to every OTA. He went to preseason from the beginning. He played in the preseason. He was ready to go. He was completely engaged. He was doing interviews and seeing the town and bought a house there. And
oh man.
And as a Jets fan, you're kind of trained. There's a fatalism to it. There really is. There's a fatalism to it. And people were making fun of it, but it's true. People are saying like, you called it, dude, because I did. I said he would get injured in the 4th week and blow out his ACL. I said it multiple times. And I said it as just a joke, like a fatalistic, like I didn't really believe it. It's just being like, like you almost have to accept it. It's like, wow, Aaron Rodgers, dude, when I was watching the game, I was like, holy shit, he is the quarter. We're in our all whites, white pants, white shirt, logo in the middle of the field for the first time instead of that NFL crest, which is awesome. He comes out with the American flag, waving it or whatever. I'm like, this is insane. I can't believe it. Jets chants louder than I've ever heard in my entire life.
Rocking.
And it became a mausoleum in about 70 seconds. And I was
saw
like,
a video online. Yeah. It was like, I think it said Aaron Rodgers Jets highlights, and it was just him running out with the flag. And then the video ended.
Oh man,
that's
so bad.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
And there's something I'm really proud of the team for winning that game. I think many teams would have just folded up like an accordion and just been done. I mean, and I think the Bills blew it. I don't think the Jets really played at an elite level. The defense did. And I think the offense just, great special teams, touchdown in overtime and all the rest. It almost makes it more painful because it's like now we're 1-0. And now we have this unknown quantity again coming back in. And there's so much I want to say, but I guess one of the things that's so interesting is that I'm so interested in Zach Wilson in that he's so young. He's like 24. He's a kid. He's a child, basically. And does he first of all, he must have been horrified. Right? Can you imagine?
No one's expecting that.
No, he's dressed.
Monday
he's the backup.
game.
I'm sure there's some level of preparation, obviously, but he's like, I'm not playing today. He didn't prepare 1 second the offseason to play that moment. So first of all, he must have been fucking horrified. And so I give it up to him for just kind of keeping it together in some sense. But now we're going to see, and I'm like, does he know? He must know that this is his last opportunity, that he was basically almost run out of town last year, but that this is a moment for such redemption, right? That he could become like a folk hero.
Yeah.
In some way. But I feel like that kind of stuff's so rare, and we're the Jets, and this is what I wanted to get back to, and I wanted to go around the horn. And Cog, I'll start with you. Is what did you feel as a sports fan when you saw this happen, and why do we care and are so heavily invested? I said on Sacred that I will never go into a Jets season ever again with one piece of optimism. I'm going to watch and I'm going to be there and I'm going to enjoy it and hope for the best. But this was on a silver platter.
Yeah.
And it could only happen to this way to the Jets. It's crazy. It's a crazy. So talk to me about it. I mean, I'm so eager to hear what you guys have to say.
I have so many stories about this that you will appreciate, because my best friend Paul is a Jet fan. King is a Jet fan.
Oh, he is. Oh, man.
Here's my thing, and this will explain a lot, and Matty will appreciate, because I've had this conversation with Matty, as being a Met fan. And being a fan of this franchise demands an extreme amount of loyalty and some sadisticness, because in order to be able to endure the emotional pain that you have to, really go through to be a loyal fan and keep coming back to this team, it's an extraordinary level, right? So I remember as a young kid, because of the Mets doing the same thing, and I'm a person that generally does not believe in curses. I'm a person who believes in logic, reason, but for whatever reason, these franchises find a way, you know what I'm saying, to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Like it's uncanny. But back to your team. So my friend, he's so pumped, and he's just like, man, Aaron Rodgers. And I'm like, look, man, this is a great thing for you guys. Veteran, this is exactly what you needed. You had a great defense, and let's be honest, the kid was run out, very immature. Zach Wilson. This was the perfect thing, because I said, even best case scenario, like, he could learn from Aaron for those 2 years, develop good qualities, and then, whatever. So I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited. I'm like, look, the Jets, I'm always a fan of the underdog. I want the Jets to be good. Like, it feels good, right? So it just so happened my gym is not too far proximity from MetLife Stadium, right? And it's a 24-hour kind of thing. And sometimes I'll go late, right? So I forgot. I'm driving. I'm like, damn, MetLife is rock. Like, I have to drive past it all the time to go to my gym. I'm like, I'm here. I'm like, yo, what? I'm like, it's Monday night. Oh, it's the game. They're rocking. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I go in. I'm passing. I'm about to get my workout on. And the text comes in from my best friend. Oh my, and you're going to get a car curse. Oh my fucking God, I can't believe this. And I'm like, what happened? What's going on? I was like, what's the score? Like, how many touchdowns did he set it up? And like, what? Bro, 4th play. I'm like, what? Oh, he rolled his ankle. You gotta get the diagnosis. Calm down. Bro.
Love the spirit.
Bro, I'm telling you, I could tell. He just sat there. Bro, I'm telling you, it's an ACL. I'm like, nah, calm down. We gonna get the prognosis. Sure enough, ACL. So I'm trying to pull him together, Colin. I'm trying. He's already down the morbid path. He was like, we can't have good things. This could only have Monday night. This is awful, right? And then he's going down the path. Zach Wilson's terrible. And I'm like, well, let's see what he can do. I'm trying to build him up, man. He's going through it, bro. He's going through it. He's just like, I'm just so done. I'm so done. It's like, and I get it. And then after the fact, I'm just saying, look, there's one of those things, like you said, like, he couldn't even accept the victory, because I'm rooting him. I'm like, bro, you're still in it though. Look, the Bills, you're hanging around, whatever. He's not hearing anything else. He is in the morbid zone. And I know what that is, because that is what he's used to. So to your question, why we care about it, it's a connection. It's an extension of us, right? And we go through it with how we go through it with these teams. And I guess what it is this, and Matty, you were like, as much as the pain, as bad as it is, we have to admit though, the few times that you do break through and you get that success, for me, I was young, I was a kid, Dagan, but 86 for the Mets was, I'll never forget. Like, so it's one of those things that it's like, when you do break through, it is the most magical, amazing thing you could ever experience, because you've been in the trenches. You know what pain feels like, right? So I get it. And as far as, your overall thing, as far as sports, as far as like why I care, why we care, for me, I played basketball. I was point guard. In football, I played running back. I was one of the fastest guys on my block. I played in the street. I played high school, and until I got, hurt physically. We talked about it on the Health and Welfare episode, when I told you about the arthritis stuff that started to kick in. But, for me, playing gave me that connection to the game. And I started to gravitate towards players because I love the way they play. Like, wow, this is really cool. And then teams, like you said, some became later as I learned, and learned the nuances of the game. And, hey, I ain't gonna lie, like, them red and gold jerseys look kind of hot. What team is that? I was like, gonna lie, I was watching Pat Summerall, Madden on an and now watching the call, and I'm like, I remember it like it's yesterday. The Giants knocked out Joe Montana, and I remember hearing about who this great Joe Montana was. And I was like, and everybody's like, yeah, now we got the backup. And I'm like, but yo, this number 8, he's kind of good. So I had an affinity for Steve Young. I'm like, why does everybody hate him? Every time I watch him, he's great. Same kind of thing. So and I'll have silly connections like that. Like, I'm a person that if I watch a game for the first time and then that player performs for me while I'm watching, like, that's my guy. Like, you did it when I watched. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's my guy in all different sports. And I think it's the rivalries, it's the competitiveness. I remember going to school, and I don't know if you guys remember the starter jacket. Like that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And like I remember getting my first little starter. Actually, no, I didn't get I had a hand-me-down from King, and it was too big for me, but I didn't care that I was wearing it. But it's just the team camaraderie. Then you have to deal with the teasing, right? Because of the opposite franchise. And here come the Ranger fans. Here come
the Ranger fans are the worst.
Here come the Yankee fans on my side. It was just it's a thing, and you want to attach yourself to something, but it really feels good. The victories feel sweeter. I will say this about the losses. It's therapeutic to kind of have those conversations because only those friends that the fans of that team know what you're going through, and you need that therapy, bro. We need to talk about, well, what are we going to do? What the hell? What is Salah going to do? If you're going to give the kid, I get it. So for anyone who doesn't understand it, it's a lifestyle. It's fun. We still come back. It's a fun thing.
That's the crazy thing is that, you come back to it. You come back to it over and over again. I wrote that in my notes. Like, why do we choose this? We even let kids choose it, and they do choose it. It's so interesting that there are 18-year-old Jet fans now that really would not even remember when the Jets were in the playoffs ever. They could be 20 or 21, 22, 23 and not really remember. Yeah. But they chose to be fans, and they're there, and it's very interesting. And it's frustrating to me just in the sense that I just let my guard down this year. It was the first year of all of those years where I really, truly was like, all right, no, there's modest playoff implications here maybe, but going all in and the loss of experiencing that and how I thought I was going to throw up. Because and I had the same experience like you were for your friend, and it's really appreciated with Micah, where she was being very sweet to me and being like, it's fine. He's fine. He's going to, and I'm like, dude, he's not fine. Yeah, he's not. There's no way he's fine. Wow. They're carting him off. Like they carted him off the sideline.
Diagnosis. They just know, just based off franchise luck, that this guy's out for the season.
Yeah, it's. And then because the Jets were being a little cagey, and Micah was being like, well, maybe they won't say for a while. And I'm like, they have to say something very soon because the fan base is so, I knew this from just being one. I'm like, the fan base is so fatalistic right now. Like you can't even imagine what everyone feels like right now. Like they have to say, we need to just know and like rip this Band-Aid off and just understand the reality of the situation. And the reality is it's as bad as it could possibly be. Matty, I'm curious what your take is about all this as a sports fan, and and why we care and why you care. And
a lot of run-ins with your teams going all in and watching it go up in flames. I'm a Falcons fan, an Oilers fan, a Mets fan. So I just got a lot of run-ins with obviously the 33 comeback for the Falcons, right? Just like Cog said, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. Like, oh, it's Brady.
I still got to deal with, now that I have your coach on the Niners, that I still have to deal because of the Atlanta stuff. The people that chirp. I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, you hold back, right? You hold back. Yeah. So there's that. As an Oilers fan, it's funny. I picked them as a team. I just liked watching the Western Conference. I like to have someone in the East and the West. You have hockey to watch every day. And I picked them just because I was good with them in NHL like 08 or 09, something like that. And they weren't like a really great team then, I don't think. So I just clicked with them, and that's how I got familiar with the game, and I started watching them, and that was it. And so you finally get Connor McDavid, like the guy who's sold as like, this is a generational talent. Like this isn't the number one draft pick. Like this guy will change your whole team, which has not happened in a long while. Like probably since Sidney Crosby, like you have not seen a guy like this before. So he comes into the league 2015. I remember I was playing Halo 5 and I was watching Oilers game. McDavid, fastest skater you'll find in the NHL probably, and going right up the ice, and Brendan Manning's coming in behind him, checks him, McDavid falls, and they go right into the boards. And you could just tell like those boards, as someone who plays hockey, like they don't give at all. So he hits, and you just see everything kind of crunch like that, right? And you see him get up, and his shoulder's just hanging out like that. And he broke his shoulder, and he was, I think, out for the year, clavicle, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it was that moment of like, this guy was exactly, he was the real deal, straight up. Like the way he handled the puck, thought about the game. He wanted to be a leader, kind of like Aaron Rodgers. Like you could tell he wanted to be there. Like he wanted to be the game changer fortunately it's panned out. Like we've got to the playoffs now and whatnot, but it was that feeling of like, yo, like, we just can't have anything good. Like it's funny because they got on a silver platter so many times. That's what was horrible about it. It's like we had Nail Yakupov bust. We had Taylor Hall delivered, but was like a one-way player. Nugent Hopkins like was just a very much a role player guy, but these were all number 1 overall picks, like back to like I think they had 3 or 4 in a row, and just you finally win the lottery in the moment where it feels like this has to count, and the guy gets injured for the season. It's moments like that. So I certainly sympathize, Colin. Then there's stuff like the Mets. The Cohen era. The Wilpons are out. Let's go. So Steve Cohen, to all his credit, puts his money where his mouth is. Highest payroll in baseball. He's buying everybody. Gets Lindor. He gets Verlander. Gets Scherzer. And when you have the 1-2 punch of Scherzer and DeGrom, you're just like, dude, like this was our rival at one point. Like this was the guy you feared when they went head to head. And now they're on the same team. Like this couldn't get any better. There were the knowing fears of like, you know what, they're a little older, but you think about Verlander and you're like, you know what, this guy was pushing 39. He had like a Cy Young year. Like, dude, we should be fine. And we just got to have some young guns like step up to be the 4th and 5th guys in the rotation, while the vets who have been doing this for a while, bro, DeGrom out. Then you get obviously the following season with Verlander and Scherzer just looking like fucking dust out there. Just can't throw the ball for shit. Just getting shelled.
We knew though, Matty. We knew as Mets fans.
We knew, right?
When they come to us and they're old, they're going to be washed when they come to us.
And the thing is we've been cultured to expect that, but we've also been, the very unique Mets thing to do is, once you go, you're going to find your groove. And you're going to find
Jason
how
Bay.
to hit the ball. You're going to find out how to pitch. You're going to, whatever you were sucking at, once you leave, you're fine. I always think of Justin Turner. Get him the fuck out of here. This guy sucks. He was like the star third baseman during the playoff runs for the Dodgers. It was unbelievable.
Facts.
Unbelievable. And there are countless players who have left this team and just started destroying on others. They get to the high point in their career, get massive contracts, they live up to the hype. But something about Mets, and I don't know if it's because we're awful fans, we're so conditioned to just terrible play that we're just like, we expect the worst out of everybody. You hold on tight to those great moments, like Cog said. I think of the for me, I didn't get to see the 86 season. I think of the 2015 season though. Like I remember like watching Harvey go out for like one more inning, like throwing the complete game. I think it was against the Royals, like where it ended up.
That was a Daniel Murphy run when he was looking like Babe Ruth, right?
Yeah.
He was crazy that year. Yeah.
Like just a special season. Like we had the kind of band of misfits, your Wilmer Flores and just all these guys who just like definitely didn't belong in playoff baseball were just knocking the cover off the ball. Like I remember we got to the Cubs in the semis and I was like, this is probably where it ends.
Yeah.
And Daniel Murphy, that's where it happened. Like this guy was hitting a home run every fucking at bat. I was like, holy shit, man. So it's like those moments, it's worth it. But like I've learned now, like the Rangers, no one makes me more existential than watching my Rangers. Bro, you should have put me on the bench to scream at these dudes. Like I was that impassioned watching them play playoff hockey last year. They got 2 up on the Devils. I was like, this is the motivated team I want. Like I'm clapping at my TV. I'm like that dude. And then after that, the Devils like reverse sweep us. And it was some of the most, I was humiliated for it. Bro, I didn't wear any Ranger stuff. Anything. I refused to be in that social encounter when I'm out in the store like, hey, Rangers, huh? Like, no, I don't want to hear it. They're awful. They're embarrassment. Like, it brought all the New Yorker in me. And I asked the same question Colin was. I was like, we made the playoffs, but like, to give up that easily? That stings just as bad. Like, what am I doing this for? And so I have a method, Colin. So, like, here's how I try to maximize my sports enjoyment, right? By the time we hit this point in the year, playoff baseball is starting to get into motion, right? So, for me, I wait on hockey. I wait till hockey gets closer to the trade deadline, December, where they're starting to really play for something. Like, okay, we have a good feeling of the standings, start to play for something. So I get to enjoy the fruits of October baseball, right? And then by that point, November, I really sink. Like I watch football like once a week, come on, but I really sink into it in November and on, right? And I try to create that balance so I'm not like, the like, for example, like the early season blues, right? Watching everyone get their footing, the impatience that kicks in. Like the Rangers have this kid they drafted that was also supposed to be a generational talent in Alexis Lafreniere. And I'm just like, everyone's just fucking tapping their foot like, all right, kid, you're like in your 20s now, time to heat up. Let's go. And he's just not. He's getting better in some ways, but he's just not. And it's like, I can't stand the early seasons of hockey because I'm watching these players find themselves. The coaches say the same shit in interviews on, we believe in them. We just gotta find, as long as he keeps shooting the puck at the net, it's just like, fucking spare me, bro. Like, so it gets me out of all that bullshit and kind of gets me into and by the point of baseball season starting, I hate the early season Mets because they're always amazing and then they fall off. Right.
If you think about it, historically, Jets and Mets are great first half teams, and they give you all this optimism. And
it's always disappointing. And so that's where I sink into playoff hockey because I'm like, I don't want to go through that. Like I've seen enough. So I know I'm giving a long answer, but that's how I like strategize my sports viewing now. I try to avoid the pain and ride. And I don't care. I've paid my dues for all these teams. Okay. I like to ride the high moments because I've been there. I've seen all the bullshit. I'll watch the occasional throwaway game because I just want to watch something. But dude, like that, that's how I've economized my sports time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I definitely have become more selective about the Islanders over the years.
Yeah.
Where I've become less obsessive over them. But the Jets, I'd never ever miss a game ever.
There's always that team. That's kind of like where I try to be with the Rangers by a certain point. But it's just there's always like that team you just can't miss, right? I just feel like football is hard to miss. You got a couple hours once a week on typically your day off.
It's very easy. Yeah, it's very easy to be. Easy. I think it's very easy to be a football fan specifically.
I think it's why it's the most popular sport because there's just so much shit about it.
Because every game really counts of the limitedness of the season and the unpredictableness, right? So it's just like, I get it, Colin. I definitely get it.
Yeah, totally. Dig, where are you on this, my friend? I'm curious where your mind is on the entire fiasco and what your thoughts are on fandom these days.
Well, as soon as I heard, right, I knew you'd want to commiserate, and it's understandable, man. You're in an abusive relationship with this team,
Good,
and you're a battered wife or battered husband.
Yeah, we're all.
Why do you stick around? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. And it's funny. You want the perspective from deep in Eagles country. Now, I'm not a football fan, but I'll give you the few word perspective from over here in Philly. They think it's hilarious. The morning after it happened, my contractor and his assistant were laying the floors up here, and I was downstairs playing Halo 3 for Knockback down in the living room, and all I could hear was them talking about it, laughing, and saying how, and just basically enjoying it to the point where, and again, I'm not a football guy, but I was getting aggravated. But you see my Yankees hat. It could be, in all likelihood, you're working for me. I could be a Jets fan as well. Maybe be a little more discreet with your joy. But I felt, my heart goes out to you. I mean, there's so much about sports, right? We kind of align ourselves with the place we're from oftentimes. It's entertaining. It's a welcome distraction. And I know what it's like to be invested in a sports team. I mean, I was always a big baseball guy. I was always a diehard Yankees fan. Now, to clarify, I'm tuned out. For probably the last 6 to 8 years, I don't pay that much attention. Thank God, because they fucking imploded this year. Like,
the Yankees.
I turned around like 2 weeks later, they were below 500. What the fuck just happened? They were 11 games above 500. It's like to that degree. But I spent probably, Kyle, you would remember, from 99 through Jeter retired in 2014. So through 2014, the better part of 15 years is like a die-hard Yankee fan. Like I could have been a scout. It was 162 games a year. I was there from Philly, enduring all the Yes Network blackout shit.
Oh yeah,
different radar dishes on the house, like everything to watch every game from outside the tri-state area. I mean, I was in hook, line, and sinker. And I know what it's like to live and die by your team and all that kind of stuff. What I don't know, though, and where the sympathy comes in, I think, is I've never really loved a hard luck team, an underdog team, because the Yankees during especially that era were a very winning team. Right. So I enjoy aligning myself with the team, but I don't really know what it's like to be, to be the loser. And that was always the thing, the dark mark against Yankee fans, evil empire, Steinbrenner, buying up everybody, the whole thing. I just enjoyed that. I loved being part of the dark side. I totally dug being the Sith. I enjoyed it. And the thing is, you know what? I love Philadelphia. Hate Philly sports fans. I give them a hard time. But this is the only place I've ever seen with this degree of loyalty across sports. In other words, it is to a person. Unless you're from somewhere else. If you're from here, if you're from the Philadelphia, the greater Philadelphia area, it's Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, Penn State for football, and either St. Joe's or Villanova for college basketball. That's it. There's no anomaly. The only thing that may change is you may be a Devils fan. But otherwise, it's never like you like all of them and I'm also a Dolphins fan. Never. It's across the board Philadelphia in this place. So you got to give them, they're obnoxious, but you got to give them credit for that. That loyalty is unbelievable.
Yeah, they're a notorious fan base.
Oh, they're unbelievable. They're relentless.
Mm-hmm.
They really celebrate. I think they celebrate their wins almost as much as their enemies' losses, which is, they're a notoriously mean-spirited fan base. And that's that's associated deeply with the Eagles, but that's professional sports across the board.
I've ever almost got into a fist fight was at a Rangers playoff game against the Flyers.
Yeah.
And it was a Flyers fan.
Bro, that's crazy you said that.
Yeah, I was not the instigator, but the dude was like in my face, they've lost. And he was like pissed. Yeah. He was clearly fucking drunk off his ass, but like he kept getting in my face. I'm like, yo, you can't, it's the same stereotype as like New Jersey drivers being terrible. It's like, how are you living up to this so fucking well?
Yeah. They were in the Garden too.
Yeah, in the Garden.
So it's unapologetic.
Like,
They'll
you
even
can
come
hit me,
off
but
their
like
home
8
turf.
other people are probably going to hit you afterwards. Like, you get that, right? You can knock me out cold.
They're not on their home turf.
I remember getting into a fight at first game, friend down in Philly, and he had tickets for the Mets Phillies. This is during the Johan Santana era.
Oh, sure.
And I went out there, and he was like, "Yo, bro, please don't bring your jersey." I'm like, "Why not? Like, what are you talking about?" Like, I'm telling you, and I'm like, man, I'm bringing my jersey, bro. As soon as I got out the parking lot, this shit, it was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they were relentless. And I was just like, this is crazy. Thank God we won the game because I could get to talk after, because this is when they were, they were starting to get good before the Utley and the,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The Rollins, when they started to smack us. And I mean, we used to have those embarrassing collapses to them. Yeah. But this was right before that. And, yeah, like their fandom don't play. They obnoxious. No, they gonna let you know. Yeah. So I feel for, and I feel for Yankee fans because I remember when around 161 River when them Red Sox games.
Oh man,
bro,
I could tell you that rivalry. That was when I was the most into the Yankees, and like guys, I can't even tell you. Like I was commuting at the time. It was New York Post on the way in, Daily News on the way home, 2 newspapers of stats, standings, game recaps. I'm watching every game. Editorials, Mike Lupica columns. Like it was. Helene was like, "Why don't you just be a scout for the Yankees? You could do." It's like you're freaking Gene Stick Michaels over here. Like, like just be a scout. Like I was that in, but that was the height of the Red Sox Yankees rivalry. I mean, the Red Sox broke the curse and won in 2004, right? But that whole era continued, and it did get to that point where I felt that Philly vibe of, do I love the Yankees more or do I hate the Red Sox even more than I love the Yankees? It was like to that degree. I remember, Colin remembers this story. Terry Francona was managing the Red Sox. This was probably 2006, maybe, I want to say. And the whole story makes sense in retrospect because I think he's from the Philadelphia area originally. But I remember he was managing the Red Sox at the time. He was having heart problems. And I'm commuting on the Jersey Transit train from Trenton to New York at that time. So one night I get home very late from work, get off the train, go up to the main concourse of Trenton Transit Station to go in my car so I could drive home. I get it's very late at night. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I get up to the main concourse of the train station, and there's one guy sitting waiting for his Amtrak train. It's fucking Terry Francona. Like I just me and Terry Francona. 11 o'clock at night. There's not even any cops around. Nothing.
Wow.
Yo.
And I just clearly see him sitting on a bench waiting for his train to be called so he could go downstairs. And I'm wearing my Yankees hat. And I saw him, immediately recognized him, and then smiled or smirked or something. And he didn't say anything. He just went, like, give me one of those.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, go fuck yourself. Just like that. It was bang, bang. It was just.
It was on sight. I love it. It was on sight.
You know when you just fly off at the mouth before you even realize you're talking? You know, like that anger. Like it was so. I think I was already feeling like, oh, fucking this guy type of thing. But like, it was like, as I'm walking away, I'm like, what just happened? It was so rapid fire of an exchange. But that's how deep the passion runs. So I get it. You know what I mean? I could only get. I mean, then it was Jeter, you know, coming off of Bernie, Paul O'Neill, Jeter, A-Rod, Matsui. We had Sheffield for a little while. Eventually we got Johnny Damon. Like, it was like a who's who of baseball. It's like, you know, we're always expected to win. So that's the one thing I don't relate to. But you know what, Kyle? It dates back. I was always a casual sports fan when I was a kid. I think when I discovered skateboarding, then really my sports fandom fell by the wayside, but sports was always a really big thing in our family, right? Our Uncle Mike is still a diehard Cowboys fan, like vanity plates, gold ring with the filigree diamond star on his ring, like, you know, serious hardcore Cowboys fan. Would go to the vet in Philly and watch Cowboys Eagles games in the 70s and have bottles thrown at him.
Yeah, it was,
you know, from, you know, like hardcore. Like he was. Our Aunt Joni, diehard Mets fan. Our grandma, Brooklyn born and raised, right? Greatest generation, Bay Ridge, represent. When the Dodgers left Brooklyn in 58, the late 50s, she swore off the Dodgers forever when they went to LA and became like a diehard Mets fan. You couldn't even mention Dodgers in her house, which applies to her all the Brooklynites from her generation, like, you know, felt so betrayed. That was one of the big franchises leaving for the first, you know, that was for one of the first time that ever happened as sports got big. So sports was always a big thing in our family. So I always related to it. And I think I later would realize this wasn't always the thing because like our Uncle Mike, for example, with the Dallas Cowboys, he got that from his dad. But it was always a thing. And it's still a thing that I love. It's about aligning with the place you're from. It's like it's like a form of nationalism. It's like representing your city, which I love. That's what I love about the Yankees. I've probably, as a kid, I went to many more Mets games. My family was in Flushing, you know, at Shea Stadium so many times because my aunt, who was like one of my best friends, was a huge Mets fan. But for me, it was always more, you know, for some reason, it was always more Yankees. And then growing up in New York, we always had the options for a lot of teams. We had Rangers, Islanders, we had Mets, Yankees.
That's what I think disrupts having a more. New York doesn't have the sports. When a city splits its fan bases in multiples like that, it doesn't have the insane. Because I actually think San Francisco is very similar in some ways to Philadelphia, a step below, just because there's a little bit of a mix up with with the Bay Area stuff, but really Oakland, it's kind of like Long Island and New York City, really, where Oakland and San Francisco really have their own fan bases. They just happen to be really right on top of each other. And there's some crossover depending on your family and all that sort of stuff. But it's true. Philadelphia has a notorious, the Flyers fans are notorious. So, it's interesting to hear you guys all speak on it. And it's, I don't know. It's very mystical and religious almost.
Yeah.
And
tribal.
What bothers me about it is I'm self-aware. Like when you see the criticism of saying like, why are you so upset about this? It's like, I don't know, man. It's a really good question. It's a really fair question, but I guess you got to care about some things. And I care about this, but I do have this fatalistic notion about the Jets that's deeper than it's ever been. And I don't know that you're ever, or I shouldn't say you, I'm talking about me, I will ever forget about that time and place, like where this happened.
Yeah.
And the lead up, this will curse the Jets and the Jets coverage for years and decades to come. And it's like the butt fumble times 25, where you're just going to hear about it forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, about how Aaron Rodgers played 4 plays. Aaron Rodgers took 4 snaps. Aaron Rodgers didn't have any complete passes, and he took the flag out and all. And then he went out, and you're just going to hear about it forever. The only thing that's going to stop people from talking about it is a Nick Foles type performance by Zach Wilson, in which he carries the Jets, which and I want to say, because this is going to go up the day after the Jets play the Cowboys, and I'm not hopeful about that game. I wasn't hopeful about that game with Aaron Rodgers, frankly.
Yeah, Cowboys defense.
The Cowboys defense is arguably the best defense in the league.
Yeah,
I don't think this is really the greatest game for them to be testing out Zach Wilson and seeing what he's truly worth. But the week after that, you know who we're playing the week after that?
Who you got?
The Patriots.
Oh, you got to get him.
Now, let me say something really quick about this, to speak on this, about how ignorant you have to be about Jets fans. People float all these quarterback names out, and I'm not opposed to going and getting a quarterback. I'm not. Like, we have a first round pick now because of the condition of the Aaron Rodgers trade. I'll take a rider on a Kirk Cousins, sure.
You
know,
love Kirk Cousins.
Andy Dalton might be available too.
Yeah, for Andy Dalton, we could get it for nothing. You know, so I would love, and there's a lot of different quarterbacks. People are like, got to call Tom Brady. I'm like, do you know anything about the Jets and Jets fans? Dude, I said it straight up. I said it to Micah dead up to her face. She's a Patriots fan. I'm like, I would rather go 1-16 and never score another point the entire season than have Tom Brady get anywhere near the Jets roster. And by the way, he feels the exact same way. So why anyone is talking about it, because he openly hates the Jets too, and like has stomped on them. Now, this is the week 3 game against the Patriots is important for multiple reasons. Is the Jets fan base can't take it anymore. Why? Because we've lost 14 times in a row to the Patriots.
Wow.
14 times in a row to the Patriots. Twice a year.
Yeah.
Every year.
Right.
That's
And
a little tradition you guys got.
Yeah. So
we can't talk. We lose the Braves almost the way they use the I'm sorry, continue.
No, good. I was going to say the rage is pent up, and we were really circling that game before the season as being like, we're going to beat the shit out of these guys. Like I said it to Mike, like we bust balls around. I'm like, we're going to beat the shit out of you week 3. Like, just letting you know, like it's good. There's going to be that week. And then week 5 became important with the Broncos because of what the coach said and all of that stuff about Nathaniel Hackett and whatever. And so that there was a lot of rage there. Now it's like, I don't know, man. I hope Zach Wilson realizes if he thought the Jets fan base was abusive, and they were last year, I never heard a stadium boo their quarterback like I heard the Jets boo him. Yes. Jets fans boo him last year. There's one famous shot of him walking off the field where it's like deafening. It's crazy. And it's just a close up of him walking away. And it's just, you deliver the Patriots game and we'll talk about, maybe some sort of playoff run. I don't have Super Bowl aspirations anymore, but we got to turn this. We have an all-star championship level defense.
Amazing.
And they can't do it all. We have the offensive rookie of the year, the reigning offensive rookie of the year. We have the tools and good running backs. Yeah. We have to do something. So I just look at that specific game. So it's Cowboys game. I think I would be thrilled if we won that game. I'd be if we win that game, I'll be like, all right, something's going to happen. So maybe nothing changes in terms of our expectations. I don't know. It would be a brief sample size, but that Patriots game is the one.
Absolutely.
And if they shit the bed, or he shits the bed in that Patriots game,
is it a home game?
Rage out. I'm going to rage out. And then we got to go get a quarterback.
Yeah.
Kyle, is it a home game? Like, do you guys play MetLife or?
No, I think it is the home game. Let me look.
Oh, boy.
That's actually good.
So he's really going to hear it if he fucks up.
Yeah, seriously.
He's got, it's a crazy story because I remember the mutiny. I've never seen a team turn on the young kids so quickly. And look, all I was saying is the kid came off with no practice and won on Monday night. That is not easy to do. They won the game regardless. It wasn't pretty, but he had a couple of moments. So all I said to my best friend, and I'll tell you, Colin, is just like, look, this is his shot. It's on him because his contract, like if he's ever going to be something, right? This is it. So hopefully he mature and puts it together because I would love to see it.
That's the fucked up part about this, right? Is that they won the game, which is great. It was a great win, but now it's like, oh man, could we do the Team of Destiny thing now? Like, is this going to be like? But it's the hopes of every fan,
right? Of course.
Teams, right? Like everyone gets into that mind, but now I'm like, oh, I can't. But I'm still feeling the crushing emptiness that I feel right now. It's hard. It really is something else. And it's, I just wanted to commiserate.
It's fun. Kyle, let me ask you something about the Jets fan base, because I really don't know. And I don't know if this is hard to answer, but you tell me. I'm thinking about how many does that stadium seat?
Oh, I don't know. What would you think? 80,000? All
right. So let's just say 80 square.
Yeah.
Where are those fans primarily coming from that are the big enough fans to have?
82,500, by the way.
All right. So I'm thinking North Jersey, Central Jersey, Southern Connecticut, Long Island, the 5 boroughs, upstate New York. Where are primarily those fans coming from? If you had to pick the percent, even 51%.
Long Island.
Okay. That's what I thought. All right. Yeah. Yeah. And growing up, you see that. You see that.
And that's why I'm kind of if I were mega rich, like Woody Johnson, the thing that I would do would have been to decouple myself from the Giants. Although, it's a financial hit to do that, but it's what almost every other team does. And I would have moved the team to Long Island a long time ago. Yeah. And if someone comes in and buys that, there is like this rich billionaire dude from Long Island. I don't know his name. He's like some tycoon who's wanted for many years to buy the Jets and says he would move them to Long Island.
That would be
if he was ever able to. And that's where they belong, But there are people in Northern Jersey, and Connecticut seems, I always read Connecticut as pretty Giants-y or Patriots-y.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's that dividing line.
Yep.
Yeah, like I don't know that I know any Jets fans from Connecticut. I know Jets fans from Jersey, and I know Jets fans from Long Island, and I think that's it.
Okay.
And I would argue that the Jets probably have one of the smallest fan bases in the league. Like Jacksonville's probably the smallest, but I would say Jets would probably be in the lowest 5, which is reasonable because their market is so small.
Sure.
It's the Giants really and the Yankees and
right.
That kind of usually your Jets, Mets, Nets, Islanders, or Devils.
Yep.
Right, exactly. Right. That makes sense. Well, good luck. Yeah. I mean, this is exciting. Relish it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a disaster. We'll know. I mean, dude, we're gonna know really quick. I will just be, oh my God, on just going crazy if they win this game against the Cowboys. But I honest to God don't expect that they will. But I don't want to I can't read too much into that game. It's like I said, that Patriots game.
Yes.
We're raging out. And yeah, it's at home. Like, it's going to be either the fucking greatest game ever for us, or it's going to be a disaster, and it's a one or the other. And I think that at that point, then you get on the phone. I don't know who I want out of the outlet. I would prefer that we didn't spend that pick. I think that I would, I don't know, man. It's crazy. Like Carson Wentz.
You can
just sign him off the street right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I don't hate that. I think that's better than what we have. I mean, maybe it won't ultimately be that way. I think they don't want to shake him.
Yes.
So anyone they sign will be, they keep saying will probably be worse, or like, another backup level quarterback. But I'm like, I don't know, man, you could make I don't want them to go after Phillip Rivers or Matt Ryan or any of these guys. These dudes that don't have the physical tools anymore. And they know that, and they're just kind of hanging on. But I think Carson Wentz can still play. He's still kind of young.
Mm-hmm.
And people have always have the fantasy of like, what about Andrew Luck? And shit like that. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Andrew Luck. That'd be awesome. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I'll know. But by the time this goes live,
we'll know.
The Cowboys question will be answered, but the Patriots question will go unanswered. And so that will be the true determining factor. So check back in with me then, and we'll talk for more. But guys, thank you for hearing me and allowing me to pontificate for a while. That was fun. I'm glad to get it out and amongst people that understand. Because I know Chris just glosses over when I talk about these things. All right, let's go around the horn and say goodbye to everyone as we wrap this episode up. Cog, good to see you. Good to see you on the mend.
Thank you.
Sorry you're going through so much of this. We were kidding around on the show. It's like we got to get the energy on Duke a little more positive. What's going on over there? It's just like, we got to. So like we're sending you our hopes and prayers, and glad to see you. And thank you for taking the time to be on the show.
I appreciate it. Stelly is always great, and all these tangents and fun discussions. But yeah, this was a good one. Really enjoyed it.
Cool. Thanks, man. Matty, goodbye to you, my friend. Thanks for taking the time today in your Spider-Man shirt, your attractive Spider-Man shirt.
Thank you. This is one of my favorite shirts to wear. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was fun doing this. It's been a while, so it's good to be back. It's good to get deep with the boys. And thank you for having me on. Yeah,
no problem. And Dag, goodbye to you, my friend. We'll see you next time.
I love having this group. It was an absolute pleasure. And thank you very much. It's something from Matty I had thought of for the puppy. Our dog is 6 now, so we're out of the woods with this. But I remember when she was a puppy, and you may know this, but try this if you haven't, or consider this.
Okay.
We bought a roll of like cheap vinyl flooring. Maybe it was linoleum, right? Maybe like 1/4 inch thick. And we laid that down in like the drop down section of our kitchen. And then we got one of those dog pens that are kind of shapeable. It's just kind of that wire thing. You can make different formations out of it. But it gives, put her inside there with the linoleum floor for accidents. And we just left the dog in there. We left her in there, for most of the day. And then when we wanted to have her out playing with the kids and stuff, we did that.
Mm-hmm.
We monitor it, of course, and then put her back in there to the bulk of the day. She's inside that pen. She has an accident. It's just that shitty floor that you clean up. It's basically plastic, right? Easily cleanable. And I think that went a long way. She ate a little bit of the molding, but it wasn't anything serious. Again, you got to do the Colin strategy and wait till you're out of the woods puppy wise. So they're not destructive anymore.
God,
it's like having a kid.
I'll rage out completely if he does it again. Dude, every corner, anywhere 2 pieces of wood met on ground level, every corner.
They love it. They're like
the molding. Yeah, and we have this huge like kitchen island in the middle of this open concept first floor, and just the corners of,
because they're teething.
Yeah,
right. So they want to.
And she was like getting anxious, I think, at times when we would leave and stuff too. And so I think we're in the. But Rush would do more damage to single things. Like he ate basically an entire windowsill. We got that replaced too.
Wow.
But that was cheaper and easier than having. It's like a lot of work for just this. You can't really do much but remove the molding and just put new molding. We'll see, tough. Man. I mean. I don't know. I'll send her to the moon if she does it again. My friends, thank you for gathering again. Good to see you guys. Thank you all out there for your love, kindness, and support of all things Last Stand Media. Patreon.com/Last Stand Media for early ad-free access. Merch at laststandmedia.store. We'll see you next time for more. Until then, goodbye. Constellation is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show was conceived by and is directed and hosted by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-host is my brother, Dagan Moriarty. The show is produced by Last Stand's executive producer, Dustin Furman, and is edited by associate producer, Ben Smith. All Last Stand theme music is by Ramon Narvaez, and all of our graphics and logos are by Dagan Moriarty. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's podcasts, including Constellation, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest support tier, and we're infinitely grateful for your thoughtful and kind contributions to our independent endeavor.